Hanaki! Did you know that our souls are connected by fate? What do you know? I'm Yuno Hanaki from Production Kawaii's Hanamizuki. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi. Good evening. How are you guys doing? Hope things are good. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to the fanfiction trope tier list stream. Welcome, welcome. So as you guys know, I am kind of the resident production kawaii fanfic knower, fanfic liker, fanfic enjoyer. I have reached a point where I feel like if the other girls approach me to talk about something, it is either about otome game recommendations or it is about fanfiction things. Specifically, I have had to explain My Immortal more times since joining Kawaii than I think I have ever had to talk about My Immortal in my life, and I both love it and hate it at the same time. But I think this makes me uniquely qualified to discuss fanfiction and all of the affiliated tropes and just, you know, those silly little scenarios that are usually discussed within a fanfiction. So I will do my best to describe each trope as we encounter it in these lists. I grabbed a couple because there's like one that I think is more commonly known. And then there's another that's like more expansive. And then one that's kind of in the middle. So I'm just going to kind of like peek at all of them and see if we can like get more information with each one. Do a short explaining it with a dramatic reading, then link to it as required watching. So true. You're so right for this. Well, I mean, one of the other rewards that's going to be coming out soon was a video of me reading one of my fanfiction out loud and, like, uploading it as its own thing. So I guess if I make a short out of that, I can also link to the tier list stream. Oh god, my branding is rapidly becoming a fanfic liker alongside otome liker. But I like this for me. I feel like if anyone should have this branding, it should be me. Anyway, but yeah, so we'll start with the more commonly seen one. It's the one that I referenced in my thumbnail, actually. This tier list is the one most people go to when it comes to discussing fanfic tropes. So we will be using that as kind of our like initial starting point. It's a pretty straightforward list, so I think that that would be a good place to start. And then we will consider diving into the crazy big one that I found. The big one has like 200 tropes. So we might be here for a hot minute if we get to that one. Yeah. Okay, let me... Do I have this on the right one? Okay, no, I don't. Let's get to this one. Okay. Dang. Yeah, dang. I don't know if we will get to that one, or if we would even be able to get through it if we started it. But it's okay. So this is the more common list of scenarios. We've got big ol' list here. As I have said, some of the content, check the disclaimer. Some of this content may involve like more sensitive subjects and may also involve sexual content, but I'm not going to be getting like super into like the nitty-gritty of such things. But we will touch on it in order for me to explain what each thing is, you know? Okay. Teacher, what's a fanfic? Okay, so fanfic is short for fanfiction, which is basically the idea of how do I word this? It's a story that is written based off of an existing piece of media. In some cases, people do write fanfiction about real people, but I don't necessarily encourage those here. But, you know, same kind of deal. But it's basically, if it already exists, if you write a fanfiction, you're basically coming up with, like, your own story involving, like, those characters, those people in, like, made-up situations. And usually it can either be something that's, like, really true to, like, life, or, like, the original canon, as it's called, or you could deviate from canon entirely. And that's where we get things like alternate universes, or AUs. Some of the tropes that are listed are going to be, like, actual versions of, like, AUs. But yeah. Anyway, yes, please be mature. You don't have to be demure necessarily. But like, please be mature as we discuss these things. I would prefer we not like mock or tease any particular tropes, because in the end we should not be discouraging other people's tastes. Even if it's not necessarily your cup of tea, there are people out there who like it, so it is what it is. Is there any difference in rating a trope in a fanfiction versus regular fiction? I think that fanfiction has kind of cultivated a... This is actually something that's discussed in, like, Book Talk and, like, other places like it, but, fanfiction has kind of taken to this idea of, like, people caring more about, like, the scenario of a story rather than the overall, like, plot, if that makes sense. So, like, for example, let's take one of the ones that's here. You can't really see my cursor very well, but, let's take, Bathing Together, right? So if we go with the idea of, like, a fantasy novel that exists, that's, like, a really epic, like, war between fantasy races, and there's, like, this big, like, overarching, like, war theming to it, and, like, tragedy and that sort of thing, people who read and also, like, write a lot of fanfic might advertise that kind of story as there is a scene where the characters are bathing together. Fanfiction kind of focuses more on individual scenes and individual instances that take place within a story rather than the overall narrative itself. While I feel that people who talk about fiction tropes tend to care more about the actual, like, things that happen within like, the actual plot. A lot of fanfiction tropes don't have to do with plot and more so just have to do with, like, like, scenarios between characters. Fanfiction is very, very character-driven, I feel. Not to say that regular fiction isn't, but a lot of it is more focused on, like, character you love with other character you love doing miscellaneous things. That's a specific thing that people like? Yes. Like, it can be that specific, it can also be super broad. We will find out as we go. So world building takes a big backseat. Kind of. Sort of. It really depends. But anyway, we're going to get into it. So this is someone else's, like, list. I didn't write these tiers, but I will go with it because I think it's kind of funny. So we have, top tier is I yearn for this content. Next is very enjoyable. Next is I'll give it a shot if I have time or energy. We have indifference. We have not really my thing, and Squicksville. Those of you unfamiliar, a squick is something that just, like, makes you really, really uncomfortable. It's not really something that, like, causes, like, you to feel triggered or anything. But it's just, like, something that makes you just feel kind of gross. Like, you just don't really like it at all. Would there be a tier you would rename to be more unicorn? Probably... I would probably change this to just be, like... I'll knock it till I try it. Is a more me thing. Is it a Zoomer word or a fanfic word? Maybe fanfic more so than Zoomer. I feel like I've heard people say squick before Zoomers took over the internet. But it's definitely not super common. I do like the word yearning for the top tier, so I probably wouldn't change this one. Indifference, I think, is good. Not really my thing. I don't know what this acronym is, so maybe this is a Zoomer term. So maybe I'll just leave it as Squicksville. Zoomers say ick. Okay, so they just took away the squ, and they just made it ick. If we wanted this list to be more Zoomer, we would say, Icksville. It gives me the ick. But I'm okay with Squicksville. I think it's funny. Zoomers saving time. Honestly, language is eventually just going to reach a point where it's just a bunch of, like, really strange sounds all, like, slammed together because they are abbreviations of words. And we will just inherently know what it means. Language is going to become obsolete one of these days, and I don't know how I feel about it, but that's a bit too complicated a situation to get into here, so... Let's go! Let's talk about the actual tropes now. I hope you guys are ready to get educated on a lot of tropes, because I unfortunately have a lot of knowledge of many things. I don't think I will have to look up too many, but if I do, I will, I'll let you know that I have to look it up. Okay, but we're starting off with something pretty fun. So the first one is ABO. It is a doozy, but this list is like alphabetical order, so it is what it is. ABO kind of has to be first. Okay, so ABO, otherwise known as Alpha, Beta, Omega. This is commonly referred to as the Omegaverse. I think more so than ABO scenarios, but I understand why ABO is also still used. But basically, the Omegaverse is the idea of giving humans the same designations as wolves in a wolf pack. So there are examples of humans being Alpha, humans being Beta, and humans being Omega. Typically, these stories will focus on a character who is an Omega, who is having to deal with being like considered a lower class citizen and having to deal with things like heat and innate attraction to characters that are Alpha. Sometimes towards betas. I feel like betas aren't really touched upon as much in an ABO. A lot of the focus tends to be more so on an Alpha being like really aggressive and like claiming an Omega. So it's taking this idea of like these more carnal, animalistic tendencies in like animal packs and transposing it to like human society. A lot of times it can be a little bit more sexually charged, but there are examples of like Omegaverse stories that take it a little bit more like domestically. For example, there was an anime that aired relatively recently that focused more on the domestic side of the ABO societal structure. It's called Tadaima Okaeri. I actually really liked it. How do I feel about ABO? This is really a way to start, for sure. I would say, for me, I won't knock it till I try it. And by that, I mean it has to be a very specific kind for me to like it. Because I think, ultimately, I find the designation of Alpha and Omega to kind of fall into the usual tropes that I used to hate about BL, which is people who get assigned Alpha have very stereotypical traits of like CEO or like super powerful businessman, and they're like inherently in these positions of power, and like they're always the same kind of like strong, muscular, like stoic kind of guy. And then conversely, if you get designated Omega, you're automatically seen as more like effeminate if you are a guy, for example. Like male Omegas are treated like shit in almost all of these stories. Because they are just seen as, like, lower-class citizens, and, like, especially being a guy, there's always some sort of, like, shame that's attached to it, and that kind of frustrates me. And it was something that frustrated me about normal BL as well, which is, like, the fact that whenever somebody is designated the bottom, they immediately become, like, super, like, I don't want to say effeminate, but they just kind of reduce a lot of a character's traits to, being more submissive, I guess. And I feel like it ignores a lot of key characterization in order to make that happen. Does it usually apply to male-male dynamics? I would say a lot of ABO is primarily BL focused, but it does also apply to GL or girls love dynamics too. And I think to some extent there are situations where ABO is used for heterosexual pairs, but I think less so. I think this is more so used for like same gender pairings most of the time. But I think a lot of the reason why it appeals to certain people is because of this idea that you have like a fated mate. Like an Alpha will have like an Omega that they like attach to and they like claim, basically. People really like the idea of being claimed. So I think that's a lot of the reason why this particular trope is popular, but that's just my observation. For me, it has to be in the middle, because it really depends on how it's written. I like it, and I will try it if I feel that the overall premise is good, but for me, these dynamics can't really take too much of the forefront. I overall want to see really compelling characters. Okay. Next one. Accidental baby acquisition. So this is like that trope in a show or a movie or something where the main characters, who clearly are not meant to be taking care of a child, like have a baby kind of thrust upon them due to various shenanigans or circumstances. Maybe they had to pick up a baby that was abandoned on the street and take it in, or maybe it's a scenario where somebody in their life had a baby and it gets shoved into their possession. And it's basically like somebody who never intended to have a child now has to like take on a parental role. I am indifferent to this. I think that this particular trope is okay, but I don't go out of my way to read it. Like, if I want to read a fanfiction, my first thought isn't, oh, I want to read a story where my favorite character has to adopt a baby. Like, I don't really think about it like that. I think if it's, like, just a part of the story, that's okay. But I don't really go out of my way to find fanfiction about it. Or, like, read stories that involve it, I guess. It is just not for me, personally speaking. And that, I think, is okay. I don't hate it. Like, I think it can be cute. But I'm not going to go out of my way to read it. I guess those can be used to show some protective parental feelings from characters. I think it's more so used when a character doesn't have those traits and are forced to start, like, becoming that kind of person. I find that a lot of these particular stories focus on characters who you would think would be really bad parents, and then they are given a baby and they kind of have to shape the fuck up in order to take care of a baby. So it's kind of a good way to, like, force character development, I guess. Also, it's usually in a sense of, like, this character who is not good at being a parent suddenly has a baby, and then they have to learn from another character, usually their love interest, who already has a baby and is more experienced as a parent. So it's a good situation for the two of them to, like, bond over being parents with young children, basically. And then, you know, the children in question start, like, getting along really well, and they're basically acting like siblings already, and it's a good setup for, like, romantic tension. That's kind of how I would explain this particular trope. Well, yeah, Hanaki. Welcome, welcome. Strap in. We will probably be here a while. So accidental pet acquisition is basically the same thing, but with a pet. Basically accidentally acquiring, like, a stray cat or a stray dog. I do think that these can maybe be a little bit cuter than baby acquisition. But I still think that, like, ultimately, I don't reach for these kinds of stories. It usually has to be a subplot. I don't understand how an entire story can, like, revolve around, adopting a pet, but I also know that there's stories like, you know, 101 Dalmatians, where the whole thing about the two main characters having, Dalmatians that, like, fall in love, and they, like, get their, owners to, like, fall in love too. So that's kind of the vibe, maybe. But, I don't know. As somebody who doesn't really have a pet, I can't really relate, I guess. So I've never gone out of my way to read these kinds of stories. Okay, so Afterlife. This is kind of an interesting type of trope to include in here, mostly because I don't know many fics that, like, categorize themselves as such. But, you know, it's kind of like, The Good Place, I suppose, where it's about characters who have died and, like, what life is like in the afterlife for them. I don't really... I don't know how I would rank this personally, because you will find this out about me as we go through this, but I don't really read fics about characters who die. Therefore, I don't really know that much about fics that involve the afterlife. So I'm gonna say not really my thing, but it's also kind of an indifference for me, where, like, I would probably read it if there wasn't too much stake placed on how the characters died. But I wouldn't really mind experiencing, like, what their lives were like in the afterlife, as long as it was considered, like, the main focus. Okay. Amnesia. Squicksville. Ick. Here's the thing. One of my least favorite tropes is Amnesia because it usually undoes a lot of character growth. I hate it. It annoys me. This trope drives me insane. I don't like it. Because it's almost always pulled out as, like, a last minute, like, near the end of the story, like, bullshit scenario where they're like, hey, here's, like, how this character has grown over the course of, like, several chapters, and, like, here's how they have bonded with a particular romantic interest. But then suddenly, oh no! There was an accident and they had the furore, and now they remember nothing. And, now they're a completely different person because they lost everything from who they were before, and now They either, the thing is, then either the love interest will groom them into being exactly how they were pre-memory loss, or there's like some sort of weird thing where like they just insist on being part of this person's life even as they grow and change away from who they were before. When you have amnesia, you very rarely get your memory back to like full capacity. You might remember like several core things, but it's very rare that you would get all of your memory back. So like, I really don't like it when the implication is that the love interest like stays by them with the intention of trying to make them back into who they were before. Like, bro, move on. I don't like it. What if the amnesia occurred as the premise of the entire story from the beginning? If you're talking about like Amnesia, the Otome game, that one is magically induced and also is caused by a little creature being in her brain. Once the creature is out, she does get all of her memories back and comes back to being an ordinary person, but also, you don't really get to see that side of her, even when you complete the route. You only really get to see what her characterization was like when you play the sequel games. So that I don't really think that that counts either. What if the amnesia is canon to the original story and carried over? Then I still won't read it because I don't like amnesia. I don't like amnesia tropes. I don't like it. Charlotte, yuck, the anime. Yeah, I loved Charlotte for what it was, but then it had the like fantasy plot twist and I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. But then they had the main character experience amnesia and I was like, oh, that sucks. I think that sucks actually. Because they went through such genuine, like, impressive character growth, and then it was all just erased because, for Gorebeam, I don't like it. It's just such a waste of, like, a good character to, like, saddle them with amnesia like that. I get where you guys are coming from by saying, like, what if amnesia is there, like, from the get-go? I guess that's a little bit more tolerable, but I still think that it's overall kind of annoying, especially because, like, a character will be ignorant, and we just have to believe whatever the characters around them say as, like, fact, I guess, because we are usually as clueless as the main character. But that's kind of, like, icky. It's kind of icky-yucky. Because what if there's, like, people that are just using it to be manipulative? I don't know. I don't like it. But exactly, to each their own. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean you can't like it. It's not my favorite thing. I'm not a big fan. Anyway. Angst. So, angst is a general term for, characters being sad. Characters going through, like, emotional distress, heartbreak, some sort of, like, emotional, like, sadness and pain. Like, just, like, really rough, like, sad stuff. I don't want to say... It's, like, less sad than, like, Wump, which we might get to later. But, angst is just kind of, like, there's sad things that happen. And it's, like, a generally very sad story. I would say... I won't knock it till I try it. In the sense of, like... I don't mind certain angst scenarios, but I'm the kind of person who needs there to be a happy conclusion. Especially in fanfiction. Because you guys have to understand, we're mostly talking about this in the context of, like, fanfiction. I don't want to see my favorite character sad and then stay sad and it never gets resolved. I want to see my favorite characters be sad, but then eventually get to find, like, happiness or some sort of positive resolution. But that's just me. Some people actually really like seeing their favorite characters suffer and, like, stay suffering. Angst is always and only sad. Not always. Angst is a very general term. I don't remember if it's on this list. It might be. Oh, yeah, okay. Hurt comfort is where the focus is on making a character hurt in order to comfort them. It can either be making a character, like, physically injured or emotionally injured or, like, you know, the fucking psychic damage type shit or whatever, like trauma. But then the focus is also on the comfort that they receive from, like, other people in their lives or just, like, in general, like, they get comfort and they heal. Kind of. Mm-mm-mm-mm. What about hate reading, watching a character you dislike? I don't really go out of my way to read fic about character I dislike. If a character that I dislike is in a fic, I'm usually just like, you better stay a side character. But also, it's rare that I really dislike a character to where I don't want to see them in a fic at all. Anyway, I guess since I talked about it, I will go slightly out of order, and I will also rate Hurt Comfort. For me, Hurt Comfort, very enjoyable. I love Hurt Comfort because I know that there's like a guaranteed moment of comfort for the character that is suffering. I love it. That's great. I like that. Animal transformation, not really my thing. Okay. Out of order. Stop! It was because I explained it. It's fine. But yeah, animal transformation, not really my thing. It's not necessarily in the sense of like, usually it's done for like comedic purposes, I think, in fanfiction. Guys, I'm going to reiterate, this has nothing to do with actual fiction, like Animorphs. This is about fanfiction! I'm not gonna read a story about a venturing Honkai Star Rail getting turned into a peacock, okay? I don't care. This is about fanfiction! Specify! Please. In Hurt Comfort, do the characters hurt them purposefully to comfort them, or like, hurt character comfort? It's more life hurts a character, character B comforts the character that got hurt, basically. Or, well, Hurt Comfort can also be from the perspective of, like, an author as well. Like, the author could purposefully want to, like, make a character suffer in order for them to then receive comfort by their ideal ship partner or something. Yuno hates Fruit Basket. I've actually never really watched Fruits Basket. I think I watched, like, 3 episodes and then I gave up. I don't know if I would like it. Anyway. What if it's a crossover fanfiction with Animorphs? I don't know. I never really was an Animorphs kid. Do you have a link to said Peacock story? No. That was just an example. I was trying to think of a character. Anyways. God. Look, okay, so, like, the point of animal transformation is usually, like, a character is getting punished for, like, being an annoying piece of shit, and they get transformed into an animal to, like, teach them a lesson about, like, being human for granted and, like, taking people in their lives for granted. Can also lead to situations where they get to, like, spy on their love interest because the love interest will adopt them as a pet, and so they get to live with their chosen love interest as, like, their pet, which can also be a bit strange to me. Not really vibing with that sort of concept. But some people do like that kind of thing. There's also a lot of stories where it'll take place from the perspective of, like, a human who takes in an animal who like, then later transforms through the power of love into a human. And then, like, they are a human, but then they still kind of have, like, that, like, animal brain. And I don't really like that either. So that's kind of why animal transformation is not really my thing. Because when it's used in fanfic, it's usually for those purposes. And I don't vibe with it. Personally. But again, I won't yuck anybody's yum. If you like it, cool. The power of love. Blech. Romance having an effect on the story. I'm kidding. Obviously, I read a lot of romance fic. But, like, anyway. I thought it'd be cool, like, the characters having animals that reflect their personality. I mean, kind of. They usually will get turned into an animal that kind of suits their vibe, sure, but... Anyway. Okay. AU fanfic. As I was saying at the beginning, AU stands for Alternate Universe. This is usually a fic that is the exact opposite of being true to canon. An alternate universe will take the characters and give them new roles, new, like, backgrounds, new ways to live. And it's basically an exercise to take an existing canon character and put them in a new scenario. I love it. I yearn for AUs. I actually love AUs very, very much. I think a good AU fanfic can go hard. I really like modern fanfics. If you take, like, fantasy characters and you put them in modern day, I really love, like, modern kind of, like, not necessarily domestic, but Like college AUs or like coffee shop AUs, those are kind of my biggest vibes. But yeah, big AU fan. I feel a lot of these tropes will fall into AU. If we're talking about fanfiction, yes. Specifically talking about how fanfiction works, yes, this is true. Reverse isekai? Kind of. I suppose so. But the idea isn't supposed to be that they are isekai and like they are aware of their past life. It is just they live in this new universe. Like this is a version of them in a different universe. Like, it's not meant to be the character gets reincarnated, necessarily. It's like, this is what this character would be like if they existed in this world and were not at all related to the canon that they came from before. VTuber company AU? Oh god. I wouldn't be surprised if there started to be AUs like that. That popped up. I don't know how you would really get a VTuber company fic to work, because... would the character themselves be the VTuber, or would they... be the actor for a VTuber, and then their VTuber character is completely different? Huh. I feel like it would get kind of complicated if you had your favorite character and you were like, okay, now what kind of VTuber model would they have? I feel like that could get kind of like layers of confusion pretty quickly. At least for me. Anyway, author inserts. So... is this different from self-insert on this list? Let me check. No. Okay. So author insert is basically like self-insert, where the author will create a character that represents them and place them into a the story that they are writing. Usually they will try to ship their character with their favorite canon character. And they will just kind of, like, have an existing, like, role within the universe. Nowadays, people usually just refer to their self-inserts as their OCs. I think it's very rare that you just come out and admit that it's a self-insert. But, the point, though, is that the author, like, will include themselves in the story, or, like, a character that represents them in the story. I feel like author insert is always one of the first things a new writer does when writing fanfic. I think it depends, but... as somebody who did write a lot of self-insert fanfic when they started, I have to say I agree. I did write quite a bit of self-insert. This is what I thought fanfic as an industry was. It is a surprising, like... it's less so now, I guess is what I want to say. I think more people that get into fanfiction now will focus on writing, like, canon... relationships sooner than they will self-inserts. I actually think that self-inserts have gotten a bad rap because of how prevalent they were in the past. So now a lot of people who like to insert themselves in their stories are kind of in hiding. Because they, people were, like, constantly kind of, like, shitting on them for having self-insert characters. I am a big supporter of author inserts, actually. I personally think there's nothing wrong with it. I think as long as your character is likable and believable within the universe that you're inserting them into in your story, I think that's fine. Who cares? I think that there's just too much going on in the world to really, like, police how people want to imagine themselves in their favorite fictional media. Like, if you want to write about yourself being a really cool Pokemon trainer and how you fall in love with, like, Gary Oak or whatever the hell, who am I to stop you? Live your life. Live your truth. So I would say very enjoyable, because I don't really yearn for it. I would probably sooner yearn for a reader fic than I would a self-insert fic, but I don't mind reading a good self-insert. Please stop that and shame that. No. Let people choose who they want to ship with. What about when they warp the entire universe to center around their character? Well, that's when we have a Mary Sue, but we've already had a discussion about Mary Sue's. But honestly, I think that, like, even those fics still have a place. Will I go out of my way to read them? Maybe not necessarily, but, like, I think that they have a right to exist. But I like reading author inserts, because sometimes people come up with, like, really good characters and, like, really good character dynamics for them and, like, the existing canon characters. I really like reading an author insert if it's a slow burn. because then I know that it's not just going to be an instantaneous every character is in love with me type story, and they have to actually work towards like earning character trust and stuff, and I think that that's really good. I like seeing those kinds of dynamics build. Although I admit it does take me out of it if it's like a insert character that has like a very English name and an IP that is not particularly full of English names. I had that with a Mystic Messenger fanfic I read once. I don't remember the character's name. I think it was like... I'm gonna just come up with a random name, but I think it was like... Rachel or something? And it was very strange because like everybody... You know, Mystic Messenger is a game that's like set in Korea. So we have, like, 707 talking to this character and, like, using the term Rachel, and I'm just like, like, it didn't really work in my brain. But, you know, that was, like, a very minor thing, because I did actually like Rachel's characterization. But, like, I get it. I think that there is value in it, and I don't mind reading it sometimes. But, like, it is what it is. Not criticizing, just pointing out you've been streaming 45 minutes and are still on A. Shut up! To be fair, like 7 of these minutes were my waiting screen. Shut up! Shut up! Don't do this to me. We're on to B now, so you can't even criticize me. Hop off! Leave me alone! You always into the slow burn. Shut the hell up! Stop! Alright, fine. I'm gonna go faster. God. You guys hate me. You guys hate me so bad. Baby fic. Rather than it being a situation like accidental baby acquisition, this usually means that one of the main characters turns into a baby. Don't like it, Squicksville. Basically married. This is the implication that 2 characters are living together. They are very, very domestic together. They do a lot of, like, things that newlywed couples would do, like planning what they're gonna make for dinner, cooking for each other. They're, like, I don't know, handling each other's laundry without getting weirded out. That kind of thing. Like, they're basically a married couple. Very great. Top tier. Urine. Baby fic? I guess to be more specific, baby fic is like a main character will get turned into a baby and has to be taken care of by other people in the main cast. I don't really like that. That's not really my thing. I'm good, thanks. Don't vibe with it. They were roommates? Yeah, kind of. Okay. So bathing together. I talked about this a little bit at the beginning as a example scenario, but usually this is like either a scene or like, I guess could be the entire fanfiction, but it's 2 characters like having an intimate bath time together. Not necessarily sexually charged, but it's just 2 characters that are like sharing the intimate moment of having a bath together. It is not necessarily sexual in nature. It is more just like the moment of like washing somebody's back, for example, or like having a loved one wash your hair and like scratch and like running their fingers through it and like scratching your scalp and stuff and like that kind of thing. It's like a very slow kind of intimate act of like 2 characters bathing together. Is this basically married adjacent? It could probably happen in a basically married fic, but it's not inherently necessary. I guess there's some deep conversations in there. That too, because it is a very vulnerable moment, you know? Something when you strip down to, like, enter a bath, you're kind of, like, stripping away all of those, like, layers that you build up, like, all those walls that you build, so it leads to, like, very intimate conversations between you and the other person. It's alright. I would say indifferent. I like it. If it's included in a fic that I am already reading, I think it's cute. But I don't go out of my way to be like, oh, you know what I want to read about? 2 characters having a bath. I think that's what indifference is to me. It's like, I'm not gonna go out of my way to find something with these tropes in it. I should hope I don't have to explain what BDSM is. I think you guys probably know already. Anyways. Blanket fic. So blanket fic usually means, characters have to share a blanket because it is cold. Characters who are like trapped in a snowstorm, or are like, it's like the middle of winter and it's very, very cold. So they have to like share a blanket in order to get warm. It's one of those like, oh, we have to stay really close together because of like the body heat. The need for body heat. So they like will huddle up together, and it's like a big focus on like cuddling up together and things like that. Like that episode of Free Ren. Well, Free Ren took it a little bit more comically, but yes. That is basically what a blanket fic is. Wasn't 50 Shades a Twilight fanfic originally or something? Yes, it was originally a Twilight fanfic. Edward was Mr. Christian, and Bella was Anastasia. They were... It was a Twilight fanfic. And all she did was take the original writing of the fanfic, change the names to the random names that she chose, and then sent it to a publisher. Which is crazy to me. But, you know, it is what it is. Blanket fic, I have sometimes gone out of my way to read these. I would say I won't knock it. Because it depends on how it's written. I feel like sometimes it's kind of silly. Or like, maybe there isn't like enough substance to it for me. But if you can make like a pretty long, like one shot out of a blanket fic scenario, I will usually like it. Okay. Body swap. So as you can tell by the chosen emojis here, body swap is literally as it sounds, two characters swap bodies. I guess it would be kind of like a Your Name scenario if we're talking about like romance situations, but like the two characters will like swap bodies and like have to live in each other's shoes for an indeterminate amount of time, depending on like what the fic is about, I guess, or like how the body swapping happened. Not really my thing. It's okay. I don't actively like search for it. If a body swap happens like in something I'm reading, I'm like, okay, but this better not take up the majority of the story. But I don't really like care for it. I feel like it's kind of overdone, and personally I don't think there's like a lot of unique stuff that you can really do with it. At least within a fan fiction. I feel like it doesn't really focus on stuff that I particularly care about when it comes to like a story, so it's not really my thing. But I won't knock it, and like I said, if something I'm reading happens to have a body swap situation in it, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, fair enough, I guess. Alright. Bully romance. So I feel like this kind of is self-explanatory, but it's a character falling in love with their bully. I would say I am indifferent. It's between indifferent and I won't knock it till I try it. I think it's kind of, it depends. It has to be written in a very, 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 very specific way for me to like it. I think sometimes a bully is just not forgivable. I thought it was the bully falling for the victim. I mean, it could go that way too, depending on the character POV that you're writing. But I feel like it's usually written with like a character falling in love with their bully. Is it usually written with a canon bully and bullied relationship, or do they pick two characters and make one a bully? I feel like more often than not, it is like shipping a character with their actual bully. And then it's not usually making a character suddenly become a bully for somebody else that they don't normally bully in canon. Not usually. From what I've seen, personally. What if they bully because they can't express their feelings properly? Then the fic should focus on how the bully is going to therapy. Get therapy. I would say I won't knock it, because I feel like nowadays people have gotten a lot better at writing bully characters and getting them to, kind of, like, seek proper redemption. For me, I think a lot of the issue with, like, bullies or, like, villains, suddenly, like, becoming closer to, the the like main character or their love interest is that like I don't feel like there's enough proper acknowledgement of what they did wrong and how they are trying to rectify it. It just feels like it suddenly goes from them being shitty to just suddenly getting everything they want. And I don't really like that. You either have to work for it or you have to stay evil. But I think I'm gonna leave it. I won't knock it till I try it. Case fic. So case fic is kind of interesting because it's a style of fanfiction that focuses on... I mean, I guess it's kind of similar to character study, but case fic is more so like telling the events of a story through a case report, as if written by like a detective or a police officer or something of that nature. So this is more like a writing style than it is like a trope. And I feel like I haven't really seen this enough to know if I like it. I guess I would say maybe not really my thing, though. Because I like a good mystery. I like a good, like, thriller. But I don't know if I could really get into a story if I had to read it from the POV of, like, a case report. But that's just me. Seems like a very rare one. Extremely. I've seen some other, like, examples of, like, ways to write things in here that I felt would be more common than this, but yeah. Anyway. Character death. Squicksville. Hate it, 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 hate it. I do not read fanfiction to have to experience characters dying. I don't like it. I kind of just... It gives me the squick. I don't like it. Especially if it's, like, one of the main characters, or, like, the character's love interest, or something like that. I really don't like that. I don't like stories that focus on it. I feel like if I want to read a fanfic, I don't want to read about my favorite characters dying. But that's just me. When I read fanfiction, I want happy stories, or if there's sadness, there needs to be some sort of happy ending. And if a story focuses on character death, I'm not getting my fucking happy ending. I'm getting pain. I'm getting pain and, like, a resolution that I probably won't even really like. And that sucks. So no character death for me. But if you like seeing your characters miserable and you like seeing characters die, more power to you. I'm sure there is some value in it, but it is not for me. Okay. Is death okay for you if it's non-characters dying, like background characters or random monsters? Sometimes. If it's monsters, that's fine. Background characters, it depends on who the background character is. If it's a character that was important to the main character's, like, life in that fic, I'd kind of still be a bit squicked out, but I guess it would be less of an issue for me. There is such a thing. There are designations, actually, on, like, AO3, and I think also on fanfiction.net back in the day. There were actually designations that would say if it was major character death or minor character death. Or, like, side character death or something to, like, designate if the fic was going to focus on one of the lead characters dying or, like, a side character. I might be open to reading a fic if it says minor character death. Or, like, mentions of character death. Like, if it happens off-screen or if it happened before the fic started. I'm also a bit more open to that. But I don't want to read a fic and then I have to experience a character dying. I do not like it. But that is just me. I prefer my stories to generally be, like, if there's gonna be pain, I just want there to be some sort of, like, catharsis at the end. Character study. So kind of similar to case fic, but a character study focuses more on, like, analyzing how a character ticks. Like, people will write stories that focus on particular characters and call it, like, centric. With the intention of, like, exploring how that character acts within canon. That's the thing with character study, is it focuses on a canonical portrayal of a character, and then tries to explore scenarios trying to follow that canon characterization as much as possible to see what that character would be like in that setting. So as, like, if you really like how canon characters act, I could see this being, like, a good form of fic for you to like reading, because the people who write these kinds of fics will do their damnedest to stay in character. Even if it kicks off some good plot, or is the death the main thing? Character death usually means, like, I guess it depends on the fic, But, like, it could either mean that it is going to be something that kicks off a good plot, or it could just be part of, like, the ongoing plot that one of the main characters just dies because of circumstances. Yeah. I don't know. I still try to avoid it, though. Like, if I see a tag says major character death, I'm just like, nope. Not for me, thanks. But, like, if it's, like, a ordinary show or whatever, if a main character dies and that starts a plot point, I'll be like, okay, interesting. Specifically in fanfic, it is a squick. I reiterate, this is within fanfiction. I do not necessarily avoid or love these things in actual media. Anyway, childhood friends. So this could either be actual canonical childhood friends interacting and, like, being childhood friends, or it could be making characters into childhood friends who maybe are not childhood friends in their canon, and then, like, building up, like, a basis for how they became childhood friends and what they are like as they grow older and stuff. I do love this. This is very much a peak performance for me. There's something I just find really sweet about two characters who grew up together and, like, know each other like the back of their hands, and, like, understanding these things, like, about each other. And then, of course, like, if it turns to lovers, even better. This isn't exactly an example of them turning to lovers, but I do really like it. I always root for the childhood friend, even though I often am told that the childhood friend never wins, but, like, listen. I just think childhood friend routes are good. I find that in a lot of otome, actually, they will find ways to make the childhood friend win. Even if it's not necessarily the true route, they will still give you a route for the childhood friend. So maybe it's just, like, maybe girls just like to see their male childhood friend win. And I guess that's just not how it works for guys. I guess guys would just rather not go for a childhood friend. I don't know. Anyway. Child transformation. This is basically the same as baby fic, but with, like, a child instead of a baby. Squicksville. We like the spicy of the random mysterious new girl. Yeah, okay. I'm rolling my eyes. You like what you like. That's okay by me. Crackfic. So crackfic is a colloquial slang term for a fic that is just so blatantly out of character that it's like the characters are on drugs. For lack of a better term. Basically, like, the characters act completely out of character. They are usually doing the most insane shit imaginable. I feel like crackfic was much more common in, like, older fanfic days. I think, like, nobody writes crackfic anymore. Or at the very least, maybe they don't call it crackfic. I feel like crackfic is way less common now than it used to be. You scream meme fic? Yeah, meme fics would be like this. Like, Shrek is love, meme fic, crackfic. That sounds like a massive range between goated and completely terrible. Give us an example. If you've heard Shrek is love, Shrek is life, that is a crackfic. If you have heard, I mean, My Immortal took itself too seriously to actually be classified as a crackfic, but because the characters act so out of character in it, you could argue it as a crackfic. But the author didn't intend for it to be that way, so it doesn't necessarily count. But usually, like, super random things will happen. I remember there used to be this, like, trope of crack fiction that focused on, like characters answering questions that were sent to them through comments that were left on the story. And so the author would have an insert character where they served as, like, an interviewer, and they would, like, ask the questions to the characters, and the characters would usually answer in, like, very random, out-of-character ways. And it would lead to very stupid scenarios. So, like, that's kind of an example. The best era of Tumblr asks. Well, hey, some Tumblr Ask blogs did try to stay in character, but others didn't. Anyway, Squicksville. I don't really like crackfic. I never did back then. I really don't like it now, either. You will find that I am like this also with comedy anime, but anything that goes too far into, like, parody or, like, obscure, like, very, very silly, I tend to not really like it. I don't go out of my way to read it, like, at all. Not even Shrek is Love. I mean, Shrek is Love has more meme variety, like, as a video than it did as a fanfic, personally. I don't mind the Shrek is Love videos, because I think the reading of it is funny, but if I was to, like, read Shrek is Love and try to read it objectively as, like, a story, I'd probably hate it. You like it within the bounds of believable? I like it when it's kind of funny, like, if you're making fun of the actual, like, canon material. I think that's fine, because that's, like, parody. But if you go too far into the, like, crack fic territory, I don't like it. Someone mentioned before that they like crack ships. For context, crack ships is ships between characters that make absolutely no fucking sense, but you just pair them together because you really, really like them. It's different from a rare pair, where a rare pair is, like, just two characters that aren't paired together super often. A crack pair is meant to be, like, these characters probably literally would never even speak to each other, much less fall in love. But you make them fall in love anyway. Crack shipping, I think, is okay. I am a notorious multi-shipper, and you can usually convince me of any ship that you like. If you tell me what the characters are like and how you think they work together, I'll be like, yeah, that makes sense, and I'll just let it go. Like Topaz and Jingyu fanfics? What do you mean there's fanfics of Topaz and Jingyu? But I guess like that, yeah, that's a crack ship. Like Yugi X Doug Dimmadome? Yeah, basically. Very silly. Okay. Dark fic. So basically on the total opposite end of the spectrum. Dark fic focuses on taking a main character who is usually seen as a good character and turning them evil. So what would it be like if Naruto Uzumaki was evil instead of trying to be a good kid? Like, what if he was corrupted by the nine-tailed fox inside of him and he just went freaking crazy bonkers? It's like a character study, but kind of in the reverse. Like, what if you took a character who was inherently good and made them evil? I think if it's written well, it can be really interesting. But I find that a lot of people who write dark fic usually are just like, what if I made this character who's usually very nice and I just make them emo? What if I just make them really, really sad all the time? What if they really just, like, hated their friends and their life and, like, everything around them? And what if the whole fic was just a really bad vibe because this character was such a Debbie Downer? I do like it when dark fic actually makes a character evil. But because a lot of dark fic, when it was being written during this, like, time frame, was just making characters, like, edgy, I didn't really like it as much. So I think I would say indifferent overall. But if it's written well, I would probably like it. Denial fic. I feel like you might be able to kind of guess what the vibe of this one is. But basically a fic that doesn't give you a resolution, if you know what I mean. If you catch the drift. Not really my thing. Next. Disability fic usually involves the characters suffering some sort of, like, injury or some sort of trauma that makes it so that they become physically disabled in some capacity. I don't really like the idea of making that, like, a fic trope. I think that that's kind of strange, personally. So for me, it's Squicksville. I feel like if it's part of, like, the realistic expectation of, like, a war or something, and it's just kind of like a side plot, that's different. But if the whole point of the fic is a character becoming disabled, I think that that's strange. Do these often come with comfort? It's more like, I don't know. I feel like they kind of, like, glorify disabilities, kind of, more so, for lack of a better term, sorry. I don't know, I don't really vibe with it. But that's just me. Okay. This will be an interesting one. Dubious consent. Often shortened to dubcon. It is basically the idea of, like, two characters did get consent, technically, but it was under dubious circumstances. For example, because the line emoji is here, consent that happens when a character is drugged or otherwise, like, drunk or intoxicated. Maybe if they are kind of being manipulated through some sort of outside circumstance or, like, some sort of external power that is causing them to, like, offer consent that seems enthusiastic but is technically dubious due to the fact that they are not of sound mind. Because technically, if you want actual consent from somebody, they have to be, like, fully aware before you get consent from them. But, like, you know, dubious areas. The dubious do be dubious. It is completely different from non-consent, which is, you know, there's literally no consent at all. And that's bad. I don't really like those as much. But dubious consent, I used to be kind of icked out by it. It used to be like a hardcore Squicksville for me. But I think nowadays it floats between these two, depending on what the cause is. I think ultimately it's I won't knock it, because if I see a fic that is tagged dubious consent, I will try. And then it kind of depends on, like, what caused it. It's very enjoyable if this is related to hypnotism. But we're not there, okay? You guys already know that about me. But this isn't like dubious consent parentheses hypnotism. This is dubious consent blanket term. So, ultimately it goes down here. But if this was specifically talking about hypnosis dubcon, this would probably be more so up here. But I still prefer if a hypnosis fic focuses on consent. That is how I feel. That is my thoughts. Those are my onions. Don't judge me. Getting defensive? Yes, a little bit. But I really don't think there's anything wrong with me expressing this, you know? It is what it is. Okay. But yeah, overall, though, I think dubious consent, I won't knock it. If I feel like the fic is still, like, largely good, I will accept the dubious consent. And then it gets enjoyable if it's related to hypnotism, but I don't even think we have, like, a hypnosis or mind control thing here right now, so I'm safe. I'm safe. You can't get me now. This is a no judgment zone? Damn right. Okay, one sec. My eye. Whew. Gotta blink a few times and get some, like, moisture back in my eye. Whew. Okay. You need eye juice? Ugh. Leave me alone. Emotional smut. So this basically is, like, what if characters just were, like, super open with their emotions and, like, open communication? Like, do you love good communication? Do you love when characters, like, talk to one another and are open with their emotions and there's, like, no hidden feelings and everything's just on the table at all times? If so, this is for you. I yearn for that. Talking! There's no issue of communication, let's go! I love that. Isn't that a normal relationship? I mean, yes, but you'd be surprised how often fanfiction pulls the whole, this issue could have been solved if they had a 5-minute conversation, but instead we get 60 chapters of emotional constipation. You know? You'd be surprised just how many fics are like that. So that's why this is like a specific trope. Like, this is meant because it's like the opposite. Okay. Enemies to lovers. Big, big, big. Yes, yes. Very enjoyable. Very good. Very yum yum. So the thing with enemies to lovers is, like, the chemistry has to be there for it to work. When it's enemies to lovers, you have to have that, like, kind of rivalry vibe to you, more so than, like, actual antagonism. But even if there is a little bit of antagonism, it's kind of yummy. I think, like, the peak of it is when it's, like, a sword fight, and they are, like, and they are in the midst of, like, combat, and they get, like, pinned up against a wall or a tree or something. That vibe, very good. Very nice. Yes, 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 yes. But the only reason it is not top tier is because I do not yearn for it. I would rather read something that is friends to lovers, or, like, strangers to lovers, or, like, other types of dynamics sooner than I would read enemies to lovers, because I feel enemies to lovers can sometimes be done not well. But I do like it still. Like, if I like two characters who are kind of known to be enemies, I will still read it if I think that the author will be able to, like, have the relationship build naturally in a way that I like. So that is why enemies to lovers is there and not top tier. Okay. Epistolary. So epistolary is the fancy schmancy English major term for letterfic. Basically, the story is told through a character writing letters to someone or something else. Like, there's actually a very notorious book going around right now in book talk where it's like a really bad romance story. Like, the character that she falls in love with ends up being, like, super controlling and abusive and very, very bad and mean to her. And part of the story is that it is told through her writing stories to Ellen DeGeneres. I am not lying. A big part of this story is her writing letters about what she is experiencing in this story to fucking Ellen DeGeneres. And she asks questions to Ellen all the time and is, like, asking if Ellen can cover certain topics on her show. And I'm just like, what is this? It's so bad. Anyway, that story is being turned into a movie soon, which I think is why people started picking up the book and reading it again. But, like, there's so many fucking references to her writing letters to Ellen. It's so bad. I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but, like, it's silly. But that's, like, an example, I guess. But anyway. So epistolary is if a story is told in letters. I personally kind of like that format, so I would say indifferent. Like, I don't know if I'd go out of my way to look up for fics that are written like letters, but I do like the format. Here I am working in a last job. Here I am working for my money, and people get to make millions of dollars off of a story where they wrote letters to Ellen DeGeneres. Are you crazy? Life is so unfair. Life is so unfair. I don't deserve this. Time to make one where it's someone sending supas to a VTuber. Dear Yuno Hanaki, oh my god, you will not believe who I encountered at the coffee shop today. He remembered my drink order. You'd run out of characters so fast, because the only way you can really tell those stories is if it's in Akasupas, right? I would throw up. Sorry, the thought is just so funny to me. I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I would do in that scenario. I think I would have to just stop everything I'm doing and read those super chats for the rest of my life. I would have to know what happens next. Blue super chat chains? Oh god. Twist at the end is the love interest drops them because they spend too much money on Akasupas. You're so right. They'd be like, you're spending all this money telling our love story to a VTuber? You're crazy. Dropped. I met this guy at the cafe. I think it's Kaya with a mustache chasing me. That sounds about right. Is that really a fanfiction or is that just reality? Anyway. Established ship. So this basically implies that the characters do not have to have any sort of love confession. You don't really have to develop the relationship. Like, the story takes place while the characters are already dating. Or are, like, already, like, in their relationship. this is good. I would say very enjoyable. I kind of like the build of a relationship from, like, the beginning to the end, so I don't go for this as much as I do the things in my top tier, but I do love established ship. Very good.
It's a super chat, so that means it deserves a super jingle.
Dear Yuno Hanaki, it is almost tempting to go through with this bit. You are absolutely worth the price it would take in order to go through with it. Thank you so much, Pira, for the $5 super chat. I don't know what I would do. I think I would just go crazy. I would be constantly waiting for that person to super chat me like, okay, where's the update? Where's the update? I have to know. It's like how I feel when I actually get into an ongoing fanfiction and I have to wait for the next chapter to come out. I would just be like, where is it? Where's the update? I have to know what's happening. What happened at the coffee shop? What happened? Did you see him again? Oh my god! I'd be going nuts. I'd be able to stream normally still, don't get me wrong, but you guys would know that in the back of my head I would just be like, please, 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 where is the update? I need to know what is happening. Oh my god. And I'm exploding, basically. Anyway. Hey, so... You know how you guys were like, oh, childhood friends is gonna be like top tier for her. That's gonna be her #1 favorite. You're all wrong. It's fake dating. It's fucking fake dating. Get the fuck in here, fake dating. Let's go fake dating! Fake dating, fake marriage, yeah! Fake dating, woo! Fake dating, ah! Let's go, yeah! That's my shit right there. That's the most best good. Actually, childhood friends should be up here for doing this by, like, actual ranking. Anyway, look at the, yeah! Yeah! Love! I love fake dating. Care to explain a bit more? Okay, so fake dating or fake marriage usually implies a situation where two characters have to pretend to be a couple for whatever it is they're going through. For example, maybe one of them has a very like overbearing family that desperately wants them to get married as soon as possible, and the only way for them to calm their family down is to ask for someone that they are close to pretend to be their partner at a family gathering. And so they have to go together to a family gathering for like 2 weeks at like some sort of resort location and pretend to be a couple. But the more you pretend to be a couple, the more you start to feel the actual genuine feelings, and everything kind of like blurs together in the lines, and you can't tell if you're actually in love or if it's just because you've been faking it for so long. But then the both of them get really sad when they realize that the time is coming to an end and they don't want to stop being fake dating or fake married, and they realize that they want to be real dating or real married, and then I explode. Anyway, that's the good stuff. Also, yes, it is like Spy Family. It is basically Spy Family. Although with Spy Family, they did technically get, like, legally married. It's just that, like, they technically did it with no feelings attached, and it's them, like, slowly developing their feelings, right? Spy Family is a little bit different in that, like, it's technically fake, but it's also, like, not fake. Anyway... This shit rocks. I love when I see a fic tagged with fake dating. I love it. Also, this is a minor spoiler, I guess, because I'm talking about Cupipara tomorrow, but one of the routes is fake married, and I love it, and that route is my favorite, and you will not be able to get me to shut up about that route when I talk about it tomorrow, okay? Okay. I love fake dating! It's so good! It's also just, like, a really good exercise in seeing how these characters go from, like, obviously faking it and being a lot more awkward and to doing more, like, coupley things as time goes on. Where they're like, let's smooch, or, like, let's hold hands in front of your family, or let's pretend that we are being intimate in the bedroom. So they think that we are being intimate in the bedroom. But then both of them kind of wish that it was the real thing, you know? Like, it gets so juicy. And then the drama, if there's a chance that they're going to get caught and people find out that they've been faking it this entire time, and then they have to come out with it, but then that makes them sad because they can't date anymore. It's so good! Anyway, I love fake dating. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. The tension! So true. You're so right. I'm following the hydration check. I took a few big sips of water, thank you. Okay. I will be normal-ish now. Sorry, that was very stinky of me. Okay. Fan kids or future fic. So basically, taking your existing ships in a canon piece of media and pretending that they got married and had children, and then the story focuses primarily on the shenanigans of the children. So I guess kind of like what Boruto was to Naruto. Because that was basically a fanfiction, let's be for fucking real. But like, you know, it's your fan ships specifically and what you think your children would be like, and then how the children interact with each other. And it's terrible. I don't go out of my way to read these, because usually when I read a fanfiction, I care more about the canon characters than I do about the OCs sometimes. So for me, future fic, especially if the canon characters take too much of a backseat, I tend to not really like it. It's not that I don't like talking about their kids, because I do, but like having the story be entirely focused on the adventures of the kids, I'm like, this might as well just be an original story. The only reason it's not is because they have canon characters as their parents. So like at that point, I don't know how much of it can really be considered fanfiction. So, not really my thing, but also indifference. I think I'll go more so indifference. I don't mind it if there's like a section that talks about the children, but I don't really want a whole story about the children. Boruto would have been fine if Naruto wasn't still the most interesting character. You're so right. You are so right about this. I agree. Like, that's the thing. People are going to be more interested in the characters that they were attached to for so many years. You have to make your new characters very compelling if you want your, like, future fic to be something people actually read. But, like, fan kids themselves are fine. I don't mind thinking about my favorite characters having cute kids. I just don't know if I would tell an entire story about the cute kids. Okay. First kiss. Pretty straightforward. The story focuses on the character's first kiss as a relationship. I would say enjoyable, but like I don't really care about it. Like I don't want to go out of my way to be like, I need to read a story of characters having their first kiss right now. Like I don't care about it specifically, but I do like the build up to a first kiss, and I like reading first kiss scenes. Because they can sometimes be written really, really well. I'm fine with the build-up, but I need that moment to be it. You're so right. It has to be, like, chef's kiss, like, the moment. It has to be, like, peak performance first smooch. But I don't want the entire story to be about a first kiss, you know? Second kisses, though, honestly, you might be memeing, but second kisses actually go hard. Because at that point, they have established that the first kiss felt really, really good, and now both of them just want to keep kissing. Yeah. That's the good stuff. I'm reeling? Okay, then I'm also reeling. That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. Third kiss and beyond. We know what's going on. We know what's happening. Okay. My first kiss sucked. I'm pretty sure everyone's did. But that is okay. Just think of it as whenever you get together with a new person, you get to have a new first kiss. Just think of every first kiss with a future partner as, like, the new first. Why does first time have a volcano emoji? You know. You know why. You know. Hanaki. Anyway, first time. It's like anywhere between these four, really. It is not my focus when I am reading a story. But I don't mind it when it's there. I guess, enjoyable. I'll put it next to First Kiss. Because they're kind of at a similar level of, like, eh. Okay, but second time, true. First time. But yeah, if you know, you know. It's not bad. I like seeing characters kind of, like, feel things out for the first time. But I wouldn't say that that's, like, something I actively seek. 5 times fic. So this is a very interesting trope. So this... How do I explain this? So it's like 5 times... A causes B, and the one time it didn't. So it's basically like instances, right? So it's 5 instances of a particular event occurring with like one character, and maybe with a love interest, or maybe not. I'm trying to think of a good example. This is me having to write a fanfic off the top of my head. Oh god. 5 times Shaoran ran away from Sakura, and the one time he chose to stay, right? So we would have 5 different instances of Shaoran. This is like Cardcaptor Sakura characters, by the way. We have like 5 instances of Shaoran getting too nervous to talk to Sakura when she starts being kind to him, so he runs away because he's too shy. But then we have the one time where he sticks around and actually like listens to what she has to say and is able to like talk to her and like answer her when she says something like really cute. And it leads to a like a cute encounter. Is it a time loop or just 5 similar situations? 5 similar situations. It is not a time loop. The point is supposed to be that it's like 5 different instances of like a thing happening between characters and like it changing slightly each time, and then the 6th is like the one time the expected outcome does not happen. It breaks the pattern. Could it be a time loop? No. Because the point is supposed to be... I mean, I guess it could be, technically, but the point is supposed to be, like, showing the repetition of, like, how this is usually the outcome for this thing. Like, it's establishing a pattern, and then the point is supposed to be the deviation of the pattern. So I guess, technically, if you wanted it to be about a time loop, it could be, because the last time would be them doing something so drastically different, it changes the time loop, or, like, breaks them out of the time loop, but... Technically, they would have broken out of the time loop because every instance was different during the 5 times before. It's not supposed to be the exact same thing happening. It's just supposed to be how a character, like, usually responds one way, but then suddenly does something different, and that's what causes, like, a fundamental change or shift. I like 5 times fic, but, they have to be written well, so I would say I won't knock it. If I like the premise of the 5 times, I may read it, but sometimes it's not executed well, or I feel like I am reading like a college creative writing paper, and I don't end up liking it. Because I can be picky with my fanfiction. Tentacle. Shut up. Hi, Kaya. I don't think Tentacle is on this particular list, but it might be on the really long one that I found before. Anyway, if Tentacle was on here, probably between I won't knock it and very enjoyable. It depends on the circumstances. Which may be a little bit similar to Dubcon in terms of reasoning. I will not elaborate. Anyway, Fix-It Fic. So a Fix-It Fic is specifically where a fanfiction will go out of its way to address or fix a plot point in an existing media that either the author didn't like or that they felt was unfair to a particular character. So like, say for example, this author's favorite character died, and the author didn't like that, so the author would write a Fix-It fic where that character is able to survive. And it basically, like, patches up that part of the story. Fix-It fic can also usually focus on, like, a series ending. So, like, if they didn't like how a series ended, they can try and fix the story so that the ending is better. Basically. So it's for the people who, like, really didn't like how a particular story was written, to where they want to fix it. Or feel like they can fix it. Fix-It ficlix. True. You're not wrong. Where would I rank it, though? I guess I won't knock it. A lot of these are I won't knock it. Whoops. I would say I won't knock it because it depends on the IP and like the story itself and like what elements they're fixing. It's like very, very dependent on certain circumstances, but I do have a lot of things where I didn't like the ending, so I would love to write a fix-it fic. Fixing some manga that ended recently, you're so real. Anyway, that is what fix-it fic is for. It's just you writing your version if you are unhappy with how it ended. Fixing all donuts. What do you mean all donuts? What did she mean by this? I don't understand. Okay. Yeah, what are you doing to the donuts? Why are they broken to begin with? Anyway, fluff. Fluff is the term for a story that has like a lot of like cute, soft moments. Usually a romance fic, but it's two characters having a lot of like, it's hard to explain it besides calling it fluffy. But it's like a really cute and like happy time together. Like there's usually not really any like angst or pain in a fluff fic. The focus is on something that's very wholesome and like lots of like affection and like warmth and happiness. It's just like a very, very cute story. Fluff and filler, that's also true. Because there's usually not a lot of plot. It's usually just like focused on cute stuff. It's just like cute moments and like cute happy things. There isn't usually going to be a plot to it. Or if there is a plot, it's not a very serious one, and it's like resolved really quickly in favor of going back to the fluff. I would say enjoyable. I like fluff. I do go out of my way to read fluff more so than I read like angst and things like that. Fluff can be pretty good. As somebody who usually likes to read fanfic with the intention of like happy things and like good things, fluff is usually right up my alley. I like a little bit of plot in my fics though. Nowadays, like I tend to read things with like intensive plots, but I like it when there's a lot of like hurt comfort and like fluff and like a whole mix of things in it. But I like them to be longer than I used to. Okay. Friends to lovers. Very good. I would say here. I yearn for this content. Friends to lovers, wonderful, amazing, peak performance. What could be better than seeing people who are friends and know each other well slowly have that relationship transform into something romantic, or realizing that it might have been romantic all along and they just didn't really realize it until a certain point. Yummy, very good. 10 out of 10. No notes. Love that it is above enemies to lovers. Like I said, enemies to lovers has to be written really well for me to like enemies to lovers. Friends to enemies to lovers is ultimate. Honestly, I understand where you're coming from. I do like it if friends have a falling out and become enemies, but then when they reconcile, they don't even want to go back to be friends. They just are like acknowledging their love for one another. That is pretty peak. But again, it has to be written really well. We can't just have the trope for the sake of having the trope. Friends with benefits. So, you know, this is what the youngins call a situationship, where, you know, like you're friends with somebody, but also you can do other things with them, and it is a situation. Usually in a fan fiction, this very quickly turns into a relationship, like an actual relationship. It's usually just like a premise to have characters like have a lot of smut, and then they eventually become like an actual relationship. Very wholesome things. I don't knock it. I don't go out of my way to read friends with benefits stories that often, but sometimes the mood strikes. But it has to be written well. I don't like it if it's a friends with benefits story that then turns into like jealousy. I hate when a story focuses too much on jealousy. That's yucky. If there's anything that involves jealousy in this list, I will be putting it in Squicksville. I hate character jealousy. Just communicate. God. This is a crazy tier list. Well, that was technically part of the Donathon reward. I did mention that there was a chance the list might have some, like, mature topics. So, some of the things on here being a little bit crazy is to be expected. Kaya, we need a tier list from you. Kaya, do you read a lot of fanfic? Are you a fanfic reader? I think if I remember correctly, you used to be, but I don't know if you read much anymore. Whew. Dojins? Dojins, I guess, will count as fanfiction. Yeah. I think she'd do better with a Dojin tag tier list. Okay, so Kaya Dojin tags when? Silly. Great idea. Yeah, great idea. Handshake emoji. Dojin tags and then creepypasta tropes together. Creepypasta tropes. Interesting. Happy little fanfics that are super fun. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Sure. Whatever you say, man. Okay. Gender swap. So this is kind of similar to body swap, but gender swap is like a character who is a girl turning into a boy. Or a boy turning into a girl, basically. And then the shenanigans that ensue from that. It's also sometimes called gender bending, where it's like characters, like gender is just kind of like being played with and manipulated, so that like the entire story is like, what if all of the characters in this series who were guys are now girls? Sometimes it is done for the purposes of like turning certain ships into a BL or GL pairing. Because like it won't necessarily be everyone that switches. I know there's a lot of examples of like all the guys turning into girls, but then all of the girls stay the same, so that way they can have a lot of like GL pairs. I don't necessarily think the same is true as much when it comes to making something BL. And then like the other situation is like reverse heterosexuality, where like the character who's usually the guy in the relationship becomes the girl, and the girl becomes the guy, but then they still end up dating. But it's like with like a different gender dynamic, I guess. Not really my thing. Sometimes, depending on how it's written, it's Squicksville, because that's usually if there's like over-sexualization of either type. But overall, not really my thing. It's just kind of there for me. I don't know. I personally do not like seek it out. It's definitely not one that I like seek out the least. It really depends. Okay. Genfic. So gen stands for like general. Basically, gen is what you label a story if it doesn't have a relationship focus. Like if it's just meant to be all of the characters just like interacting together casually and there's no real focus in like relationships. Yeah. So it's just kind of like a fun fic. Well, like, fun is a bit of a weird word to use, but like it's just focused on like character dynamics and like everybody being friends, and it's not necessarily like it's not necessarily gonna be any sort of like romantic ship. It's just meant to be everybody hanging out, basically. Yeah, the friendship tag. I won't knock it. Admittedly, I am one of those girlies that likes to read fanfiction for ship stuff, so I don't usually read a genfic, but if I like the characters that are included, and I think the premise is good, I will still read a genfic. But I don't go out of my way. Okay. Hanahaki. So Hanahaki is a Japanese trope. The idea is if you experience unrequited love, or like you know that your love is unrequited and you have to kind of like stifle it down, the idea is that that feeling blossoms into a flower and it makes you choke out flower petals, and it like shows that you are in love with somebody and that your love is not returned. It is usually portrayed as very painful and like very sad, and like your love manifests as these like flowers that you choke up until eventually it takes your life. It's the pain of having to, like, stifle down your feelings for somebody else because you can't be with them because they love somebody else, or they just don't return your feelings. The Hanaki flower, like, blooms until it, like, takes over your entire body. It's a very tragic trope. It sounds super sad. It usually is very, very sad. But I do actually quite like it. I think it's a very, like, beautiful symbol. Admittedly, I don't read it a lot, though. I guess because I usually don't see people write it much anymore. I'll go indifferent, because I haven't really found people who have written Hanahaki much recently. But if I found a fic that had Hanahaki, I would probably try to read it. Happy ending! This is pretty straightforward. The focus is on the story having a happy ending. Whether it's a fanfic that turns a sad ending into a happy ending, or it's just like the point of the fic is that it will end happy, it is usually noted that the ending will be happy to, like, encourage people to read to the end. It's like, this story may seem like shit right now, but it's gonna get better. Everyone's gonna be happy. Anyway, that's good for me. I love happy endings. I do not like sad endings in fanfiction. I've already been over this. But yeah. Okay. I would be fine if a fic has an ending in the first place. Honestly, so true. So many fics get abandoned so quickly. So many good fics, too. Like, I'll get really invested in a fanfiction and I realize it hasn't been updated in, like, 3 years, and I'm just like, bleh. No! My fic! My fic! Okay. Hate sex. So this is basically like, if we're going with the enemies to lovers trope, this is like if they tried to do it while they were still in the hate stage. It's fueled by, like, anger. Passion that is fueled by dislike of another person. Like, you're just so angry, you're so frustrated with how this other person acts and how they're, like, so stupid sexy. And then you just do it. So it depends on how it's written. I feel like that's how it is for a lot of these. But I think ultimately, it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. If I read a really good enemies to lovers and there's a really good moment of, like, hate sex in there, I'm just like, okay, that's good, that's good, that's good. I like that. It builds the tension. Because once that happens, they're both like, oh my god, why did I do that? And then they have to have that moment of, like, internal conflict of, like, why did I do that? Do I have feelings for them? That's crazy. And that's usually the thing that sparks the shift from enemies to lovers. Therefore, it is good. I like it. Yeah, the catalyst, exactly. Okay. Humor. So, I mean, this is pretty straightforward, but it's like a story that's focused on, like, being silly. Maybe there's a little bit of romance and it becomes, like, a rom-com, but, like, humor is, like, a key part of the story. Like, it's meant to be a funny story. Like, lighthearted. I would say I won't knock it. Not my, like, favorite thing. I don't know if I prefer the, I don't know if I prefer my stories to be primarily humor first, but I like a good amount of humor. I like a story that is meant to be fun. And if it doesn't take itself super seriously, but still has serious moments, I do really like that as well. Okay. In the blank. Admittedly, I am not entirely sure what this one is supposed to be. So let me see if I can look this up really quick. Where is my browser? Here you go. In the blank trope. In the what? Exactly, I don't know what the what is. I'm not finding a good definition. If Reddit shows up first, you know you're in trouble. Well, the first result for me is a Doctor Who fanfiction on Tumblr. So I feel like that means I'm even more in trouble. What? Huh? What did they mean by this? Tumblr, like, changed its website so much that you can't even, like, follow a link to the actual post anymore. I just get nonsense instead. Not Tumblr. Dang it. Alright, fine. I guess I can't find this one. But I've never heard of this. Something lemons. Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard of this one. I can't really guess by the emoji either. We can leave it out and move on. Yeah, probably for the best. So in vino veritas. So, basically that translates to in wine there is truth. It's the idea that whenever a character is drunk, or like whenever somebody is drunk, everything that they say is their inner truth. Like, that's what they actually think. So basically it's the idea of, like, do you like fics where when a character drinks, they end up spilling the truth to whoever they're talking to? Like drunken confessions. And then dubious moments happen. Shh. Shh. We're focusing on the, like, drunken conversations right now. Don't do this to me right now. We're focusing on the drunken confessions, please. Gat moe. I guess there's a little bit of gat moe in that, yeah. Where, like, a character who's normally super serious and, like, secretive suddenly becomes very, like, open and maybe a little bit dede when they're drunk. I get what you mean. Does Tumblr still exist? Yes, it does. And there are people that still use it, but it's kind of like... It's like a shell of its former self, but I think you could say that about a lot of websites. So for me, in Vino Veritas is kinda... indifferent? Maybe indifferent is the best way to look at it, because... I don't mind if it's included in a story. I like it. It can be used really, really well, I think. But I don't, like, need it in a story in order to feel like it's good. Like, characters, to me, can still just, like, get drunk and still, like, have a good time without me having to assume that everything they say is true. Thought it would go next to DubCon? Nah. Nah. Drunken Confessions is not the same thing as DubCon. Drunken Confessions is just you can't really, like, hold your words back. So, like, you're still saying the truth, you just can't, like, withhold information. DubCon is different. At least to my understanding. Love at first sight. We've been new, but the idea is, like, you know, two characters meet, they fall in love, shenanigans happen. I'm indifferent to this one as well. I personally prefer when characters have, like, a relationship development happen, and, like, I like kind of seeing, not necessarily a slow burn, like, it doesn't have to be a slow burn, but I want to see characters, like, develop a relationship naturally over time. Love at first sight is just kind of, like, a springboard for that, I guess, but I do not prefer it to be, like, instantaneous. I don't mind, like, attraction at first sight, but actual love at first sight, eh. I could use it or lose it. Love triangle. First of all, love V. This is not an actual triangle, it's a love V. But a love V is when two different characters are in love with the same singular person at the center point of the triangle. It is not a true triangle because there is no connection between the two love interests over here, okay? Whenever people talk about love triangles, they're talking about a V shape because there is no connection between these two. Or, like, the only connection is, like, maybe they are friends, maybe they are rivals, maybe they don't even know each other. But there's, like, usually not really a romantic relationship between these two. The romance is only between the two love interests and the person in the center. Love triangle. If it's written well, it's enjoyable. If it's not written well, it's not my thing. I don't want there to be a love triangle just for the sake of drama. Do you know what I mean? I don't want you to suddenly introduce a third party just to, like, inspire jealousy in the love interests to, like, cause more drama. Like, especially if they are already an established couple and a third person is just coming in to try and stir things up. I think that's fucking stupid. Why even bother? Either have the love V be there from the beginning, or just, like, don't even bother with it. That's just me. I hate when that happens. Based opinion. Thank you, Kaya Nishikino. Based opinion. Very true. Very factual. I don't know if I'm indifferent. But I guess it's indifferent, because I don't want to say I won't knock it, because I will definitely knock it. I would sooner knock it than I would try it. But I guess I will stay indifferent. If it was, like, a true triangle, and, like, everybody got together and it became, like, a polycule, like a triad, then it would be way higher. But unfortunately, we don't have that. We don't have that here. Dang. Okay, this is another one I have to look up. May-December romance? What does that mean? Oh. Okay, okay. So according to TV tropes, it refers to a romantic relationship where there is a drastic difference in age between two participants. This is like wedding stuff, I guess? These seem to be less common in modern media, perhaps because some perceive them to be squicky. However, they still crop up from time to time. Very common in soap operas in particular. So like teachers and students, arranged marriages, that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I am one of those people that would put it in Squicksville. This is a very old term. I remember it being used in a lot of black and white TV shows. Well, it did say that that's one of the common examples. Like, it literally said on the TV tropes page that this is used in a lot of older media. Less so now. Because people find it to be squicky. But I am one of those people that finds it to be squicky. I don't know about all that. Like, if that's your thing, that's fine. Not for me, though. It's also, like, for me, if we're talking about it in the context of, like, fanfiction and relationships, I don't usually ship, like, super older characters with, like, younger ones a lot of the time. That pretty much never happens for me. So, I'm not interested in it. At all. Okay. Mind meld telepathy. So to me, this speaks to, mirroring scenarios where, like, two characters are thinking the same thing at the same time, but, like, in opposite, or in, like, different places. Like, basically, they're just so, like, intrinsically connected to one another that even their thoughts are mirroring one another. They can't help but think about the same thing. I, for one, love that shit. Clown-to-clown connection? Yes. I love that. Super good. I would probably put it above... No, I would put it above happy ending, but below emotional smut. Yeah. Is that like age gaps? If you're talking about May-December romance, yes. That's like drastic age gaps, though. Not just casual age gaps, but like really big age gaps. I think the next one is going to go fast. Oh yeah, you think? Miscommunication. So the focus of the story is on there being some sort of miscommunication between the main characters. You're right. Well, okay. I will put it in not really my thing, even though it also squicks me out, because I think that if it's done effectively and they can resolve it in a way that's not stupid, I do like it as a plot device. But it's very case-by-case basis. It has to be done really, really well and utilized properly for me to like it. Otherwise, it's bad. Otherwise, it's ick. It's giving bad. Just communicate, please. Exactly! Kaya, you would like emotional smut. Because emotional smut is like open communication and everybody being like very open about their feelings for one another all the time. You would like that. But yeah, anyway, I will leave miscommunication and not really my thing because I will allow it in very specific circumstances, but it has to be resolved quickly. If the entire story could have been fixed with like a 5-minute conversation, then I hate it. Okay. Missing scenes. So basically this is like, writing a fic about a story that, about a story. I don't know how to talk. This is writing a fic about a scene that is implied to have taken place in, like, a piece of media, but that was just, it took place off screen. But, like, so basically this is you, like, writing what that scene might have looked like if, if we had seen it, like, in the media. So, like, if there was some sort of implication of, like, oh, they, had this discussion off screen about, our next direction and then came back and said this. So it would be, like, a scene that depicts, like, what that discussion looked like between the characters. I think this can be fun. So I would say... maybe indifference? Maybe, like, above... above epistolary, probably. Like, filling in a time skip, too? Yeah. Also, like, the BDSM vibes. Stop. Please. Okay. I have another word to look up. I'm actually pleasantly surprised by how many of these I haven't been able to recognize. Oh, okay. I understand. So MST, or sporking, is the act of mocking a bad fanfiction. It is inspired by the TV show Mystery Science Theater 3000, often abbreviated as MST3K. The characters on MST3K would watch and make fun of bad movies. In fan-written MSTs, characters will make fun of excerpted bad fic by another author. So that's what happened to my Naruto fanfiction. My Naruto fanfiction was sporked then. So I think just by nature of the fact that that happened to me when I was a kid, I have to put it in Squigsville. Or what you guys do to My Immortal, that's also true. But the thing about My Immortal is that that fic has been long abandoned. My fic got sporked, like, in the moment. I don't think anybody was really actively shitting on My Immortal during the time that it was initially being released. But we'll never know because the original edition of My Immortal is gone, so we can't see any of the original comments from back then. I guess... I mean, ultimately, I think I would say MST would go here. But, like, the thing is, my fic got sporked, like, a week after I wrote it. Like, I wrote my, like, second or third chapter of it, and then I was, like, looking it up, or like, something happened that I found out that it was being sporked. And that was, like, really upsetting. Maybe I just been, like, Googling my username, but, like, man, that was not a fun time. Also, I have since tried to look up, if I could find that fanfiction being sporked again, because I wanted to see if I could find any of the old comments. But I couldn't. I tried to look up every, like, bit of information that I could, but I couldn't find the forum. I wouldn't be surprised if the forum got taken down for being hateful, but, like, it would have been so funny. Ego search into ego crush, so real. I have a vague recollection of the kinds of things I wrote in that fic, so I understand why it would be sporked, but also... Damn. Time to write another one? Like a really bad fanfiction? I mean, I guess I could, but I think the problem now is that I've just gotten so good at writing that even if I tried to make it bad, it would still turn out good. Not to brag or anything, but I don't think I can really emulate that same genuine badness. Because back then I didn't think that it was, like... I thought that that was fine. But if I try to intentionally make it bad, I feel like it would still turn out kind of good. Bro, it's too good to fail. Damn right. Okay, fine, I'll write it. What the hell? Are you gonna write it about, like... What are you gonna write it about, is the real question. Are you gonna write a self-insert between you and Maki? That implies anyone even knows if it was serious or not. I guess that's true. Anyway. Mutual pining. We love it. We love to see it. I would say above friends to lovers. Naruto Sasuke? That's not the same thing. If you want to write a cringe fanfic, it has to be a self-insert. Anyway, mutual pining is good. Mutual pining, so pining refers to characters that, they are pining for one another in the sense that they think that the other person doesn't love them back, and so they are just, like... But they're still, like, down bad for that character. Mutual pining is both characters think that the other person does not like them back, and they are still pining for them regardless, so they keep, like, pining back and forth. Who did you self-insert with in Naruto? Are you asking me? So in the fic that I am talking about that got sporked, that was a self-insert with Kiba. But I had other fanfics that I wrote later because I jumped around ships a lot when it came to shipping my self-insert with Naruto characters. So there were a lot of situations. Like, for example, same character got paired with, Rock Lee in a particular fanfiction. I also had a anime crush on Shikamaru, so I wrote, like, a self-insert with me and Shikamaru. I did have a very brief phase where I shipped my character with Sasuke. I gotta go. I think this stream's over, actually. We hit the 2-hour mark. I gotta go. I gotta leave. I gotta go. I wrote self-insert with Kageyama Tobio. Kageyama Tobio, like Haikyuu? Hell yeah, I love that for you, actually. That's really cute. Kageyama's a good boy. I think that's cute. Oh shoot, I forgot I set my house on fire. Yeah, literally. Sorry guys. I left the oven on for like 2 hours. I gotta go. You couldn't have tortured that info out of me. I respect the full rundown. Hey, I am all about being open and honest. I have to wear the proper branding of being the fanfic liker in kawaii, so I have to, like, bear the full brunt of my shame. I had a huge crush on Kageyama. No, I knew this, but I didn't know you wrote, like, fanfic or, like, that kind of thing. Although I do think I remember when you showed me the ship art. I do think I remember the ship art. You carry a heavy burden? I do, but it is okay. My little shoulders bear the weight of all of my fanfiction sins. No! Hee. Don't tell them. I won't. I didn't get into detail. But, you know. I know things. If she ever wants to talk about it with you guys, that's her choice. Don't pry her about it. This is a safe space specifically to make fun of me and my embarrassing fan things. Okay. Let's continue. Out of character. So, I guess, different from crackfic, where the intention is to be, like, so blatantly out of character, it's, like, stupid and silly. Out of character is just, like, yeah, this is out of character, but, like, it might take itself more seriously than that. So the intention might be to, like, change how the character acts, like, on purpose for the sake of telling the story. And for me, that's not really my thing. I don't mind if a character acts slightly different because they are in an alternate universe that makes it so they're kind of, like, they have a different upbringing and a different backstory. But I think if you're trying to write something set in canon and you just make the character act differently because you think they should, I think that's kind of disingenuous. If a fanfiction is being written within the realms of canon, I prefer if they stay relatively canon compliant, personally. But, like, if it's an AU, I think that this does not necessarily apply. But if we're thinking about it in terms of a canon story, not really my thing. Original characters. I like these. This is similar to author insert for me, so I guess I'm gonna put it above author insert, because I think rather than being an author insert, I like when an author makes an OC, and I like how the OC interacts with the cast. If I can tell that the original character is more, like, divorced from the author, like, they act different and they have, like, kind of different, like, backstories and, like, overall vibes, I like seeing people come up with characters that they insert into an existing world. For example, I love reading people's Pokemon fanfic where they have OCs, because, I mean, Pokemon is really good at creating OCs to begin with, since, like, you make a main character that's just literally, like, an OC a lot of the time. But I like reading about how other people's OCs, like, interact with the rest of the canon characters, and kind of, like, what they get up to in the Pokemon world. I think that that can be quite fun. Especially when people novelize, like, their Nuzlocke challenges, or, things like that. I think that's great. I had a Pokemon OC. I made a Pokemon OC for, like, every game that I've played since, X and Y. Every character that I have, made for every Pokemon game that I have played since X and Y has been, like, a unique OC. I have many children. I also have, OCs that I have inserted into other regions. Peak Delulu. So they allowed you to customize the looks. I mean, I kind of would come up with my own characterizations for the canon versions as well. Like, I came up with my own characterizations for, like, Dawn and Lucas in Pokemon Platinum. I think I have my own characterizations for May and Brendan in, Hoenn. I didn't really do it as much with, Kanto and Johto, but... It's not exactly the same as making OCs. It was more just like I had a unique characterization for these already existing versions of the trainers. Yeah. Okay. Pair the spares. So this is a term for characters that get left behind because of your already present shipping. It's basically like, how do I think of a good example? God. Okay. So what if, let's take the characters. Let's go back to talking about Naruto for a second. So imagine we had, like, Naruto, Hinata, Sakura, and Sasuke, right? So imagine we paired Naruto and Sakura together. Because Sasuke and Hinata are the ones that are left over, they get paired together because they are the spares. Right? Or you could think about it with, like, the wider group of, like, the 12, like, kids. And, like, everybody gets kind of paired up. It would be like if any of those characters did not have a relationship after all of your initial, like, ships, then you would just pair whoever's left over. So, like, maybe Shino and Tenten or something, depending on who you ship. The Byakugan and Sharingan together is too strong. Honestly, I'm surprised they didn't try to arrange a marriage between their two families. Could you imagine how powerful that kid would be? Also, the heterochromia would go crazy. 1010 was left behind for a reason? That's messed up. Don't say that. Don't say that about my girl. Mean. Anyway, Pair the Spares is kind of a good way to get to, like, crack ships, I guess, because you're just pairing whoever's left, which is pretty funny. So I kind of like it. Like, I don't mind it. And I have said before that I am the kind of person where you could justify pretty much any ship to me, and I would probably like it. So I would say very enjoyable. Maybe a little, like higher than First Kiss and First Time. Like here. Yeah. I realized my mount telepathy should actually be maybe a bit higher. And I think I'll put this here. Yeah. That looks better. Okay. Woohoo! My phone is starting to run out of battery, so give me a second so I can charge it. Probably gonna have to change my model input really quick. Hold on. The things that I do, because I'm taking so much dang time talking about fanfiction. Are we surprised? No. We're not surprised at all. Whee! Phone can't keep up with all the movement. Have I been moving that much? Maybe a little bit. That's funny. Okay. Hold on. You might hear a Windows noise. Boop-a-boop. Na 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 na. Might need to refill my water soon too. My pooter. Yeah. So true. Apologies. It is not your pooter, it's my pooter. Just unplugging my phone. Were you just humming Patchwork staccato? Maybe it's because I read the word patchwork. Da 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 Nishikino. The pretty worms had left? Nope, you're gonna get them back. Oh, I need a second. It's charging again. See, I unplugged it because it was like, oh, I have 10% left, and then I unplugged it from my PC and then it died. So, that's fun. I guess I am like this for a second. It won't be long, though. Okay. That's what you get? Why are you punishing me? Do you want me to stream or not? Management will like it. Oh god. I'm sorry, management. I said I would only PNG for the one stream. I didn't mean to PNG again. Please don't bug me. I'm such a good egg. I'm not trying to be bad. Management. And they're just like, why are you crying? I don't want to go to kawaii jail. No. Wow, 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 wow. Ratting you out? No! Please! I'm just a little guy. But who runs the jail? Management, I guess. I don't know who specifically is the jailer. Okay. Patchwork fic. I think this one's a little bit similar to Fix-It fic, but instead of like just trying to fix an entire plot point or ending, it's someone who's trying to like tie up the loose ends. Like, the things that are still unresolved by the original story, yeah, like the plot holes. This is somebody who's trying to, like, fix the plot holes up and, like, resolve any of the plot points that were not touched on by the ending. Or things that, like, never got acknowledged again. So it's a focus on, like, those plot points. Which, honestly, I kind of vibe with, so I would probably say I won't knock it. Similar to Fix-It Fic, although I think I might prefer Fix-It Fic more than Patchwork. Which is why Patchwork is down here, but I think I like it more than Humor, so it should at least, like here, I think. I like it too. I think that it has a good place. Okay. So these two, if you know, you know. Period fic and period encounter. Well, one is definitely a squick. I think this one, not really my thing, but I guess you could say that it qualifies as hurt comfort. Because, like, it is a character who is suffering and then is, like, being comforted. So I think that, like, maybe that part of it is fine, but I honestly don't really like the idea of, like, an entire story dedicated to it, you know? Okay. Personify POV? I believe this means, like, a story that is told through the POV of, like, something that normally wouldn't have that perspective. I think a horse is chosen because it's, like, what if it was, like, the horse of a knight observing the relationship between a knight and a princess? Kind of vibes. Like, the story is told by like, an observer that's, like, either an inanimate object or an animal, and it's them, like, watching the story unfold kind of in front of them, like, from that perspective. I think. The horse's POV entangled. Okay, but that would go hard. Give me the horse cut. I want the horse cut of Tangled. All I thought of was the man meme. That is him contemplating the relationship between the knight and the princess, and how that means that he might be ridden less because the knight is going to become the king. We all want to be Maximus. I would say not really my thing. Everything's going to be above period fic, though. I feel like that kind of story is a bit silly to me. Because it's like, why do I want to hear about a love story from the POV of the dresser? You know, like, what is this, Beauty and the Beast? I don't care. I don't care what this dresser is thinking. I am not emotionally invested in the dresser. I am invested in the characters that are talking in front of the dresser. This is dresser erasure. I am sure somebody is saying in the comments. They just want to address it. Shut up! Now, I thought as the MC pushes the VMC onto me. Shut the fuck up! No, why is that so funny? Ouch! God. I love that. I love that. That's good. Yeah, let her cook. She might be onto something. Okay. Pregnancy fic. So, I guess, like, adjacent to the other kind of fic. Pregnancy fic would be focused on one of the main characters being pregnant. And then, like, the adventures of being pregnant, you know? Not really my thing. But I would say that I probably like it more than... I think it would go here, and not really my thing. Gregnant. I have a slightly silly question. Ask away. There are no silly questions. The female is the pregnant one? I mean, I don't know. It's not specified here. Anybody could be pregnant in this scenario, technically. I don't think gender is really necessary to specify for this, in my opinion. It just, all that matters is that there is a character who is pregante. It's the dresser. Shut up! Anytime you take out a drawer from the dresser, it is like you're presenting a baby. This is stupid. So true, it's the dresser. I take it back, it's the dresser. The dresser is the one that's expecting. Okay. Anyway. Prequel or backstory. This is similar to like future fic or like kid fic. It's basically like what happened before the events of the canon material. What happens before everything happens. What is this character's backstory really like when they're living it in the moment? So it's kind of like a mix of character study and also like just like messing around with like events and stuff. Ouch, I thought as the MC pulls out another fresh baby from my drawer. What do you mean, fresh baby? The hell do you mean, fresh baby? Huh? What is this? Yeah, we have to put out the flames now. I don't know about this. For prequel or backstory, I won't knock it. I guess it would go here for me. Fresh baby clothes. You forgot a whole word then. You don't want an old baby. Is there gonna be a fanfic writing collab between you two because Kaya kinda cooking? I don't know. It'd be kinda silly, I suppose. I haven't really figured out if there would be a way to do a proper, like, writing collab to that extent. I feel like if I really let Kaya have any sort of creative control over something that we were writing, it would get very chaotic very fast. Okay. Purple prose. So, how would I define purple prose? Purple prose is a writing style that focuses a lot on detail, maybe to its detriment. It goes out of its way to use a lot of very complex words. It tries to be very fancy, very thoughtful. A lot of, like, internal observations and insight about things going on. And it really elongates scenes. Like, I find that if you're writing in purple prose, it elongates the entire scene to where, like, what would normally only take, like, a page or two might take, like, 4 to 5 pages because there's just so much that you're observing and a lot of, like, specific, like, descriptions and, like, metaphors. And you're basically just going out of your way to be very, very descriptive. Very demure. Yeah. Not my thing. Yeah, I'm the same. It's not my thing. I like it. I feel like you can use purple prose in very limited doses, but I think that, like, actual, like, entire stories being purple prose is not my thing. So I think I would say that it's above... Wait, I think I'll put it in... No, I still want it to be a not really my thing. I wish I could figure out a way to, like, actually rank this properly. Maybe here. Yeah, I think there sounds good. If you use it in small doses, though, statements that are written in purple prose can actually be really, really pretty. New tier is okay. I'm not adding a new tier this late in the game. We're committed now. If I add a new tier, I'd have to rearrange all of these. And then we'd be here at extra time, because I'd have to rearrange everything to figure out what needs to go in the new tier. Explodes. Okay. PWP. Is there anyone here who doesn't know what this means? What's the downside? You guys just want to have more time with me and it shows. You don't know? Okay, you don't? Okay. I'm gauging before I say it. Okay. Alright, I guess I have to say it. Did you know? I learned this from a past stream and it was very unfortunate. Okay. So PWP stands for prawn without plot. You know, prawn like the seafood. Wink wink. Or it can also sometimes mean plot, what plot? As if you're asking a question like plot? What plot? Is kind of what it means. It's meant to be like, it's not going to focus at all on plot. It's gonna focus on interactions between the characters, particularly of a certain nature. And there's just gonna be like no actual like plot development. It's just gonna be just straight to the deed. Yeah, straight to the did. Yes. Style over substance? Mm-hmm. Not on plot, but on plot. Exactly. The plot will be plotting. I have to be in a mood to like it. I have to be in a mood. I would say maybe above hate sex. Mostly because I feel that PWP also kind of envelops hate sex. So they kind of go together. I think it's fine. Okay. This goes in squick. Simple as. I'm not gonna say the word out loud because that could actually flag the stream, so. This goes like way down here. Yuck. Reader inserts. So this is what I think most people think of nowadays when they think of fanfiction. Reader insert is where, instead of there being a designated character for, the, story, it is being written as if it is about you. So it's written in second person. What is PWP? I already explained it. It's prawn without plot. Or plot? What plot? No plot, just, action, so to speak. Please listen what I explain. Yeah, reader POV, not necessarily. It's just, like, second person. It'll be talking about it as if you are you. As if, like, the story is about you, and, like, you interacting with these canon characters. And, like, not you as a character, but, like, you as yourself, being usually romantically involved with a certain character. Like, you'll have, like, a set love interest, and the story will be about you interacting with them. And it'll be, like, Kaya, shut up! Ouch, you thought as the MC pushes the female MC onto you. No! You don't insert as the dresser! Unless you're trying to say that you are a dresser. I think we just got a reveal. I don't quite get it. Could you give an example of how that would be written? Okay, let me think. Let me pretend that this is a Yuno/reader fic, just for the moment, okay? This is only for the sake of the example. Let's see. Yuno approaches you and stares directly into your eye color eyes, and says, YN, which is a stand-in for your name. Did you know that our souls are connected by fate? And it makes you blush. Basically. That's how it would be written. Like, the idea is that there are things in it that you insert as yourself, and it'll have, like, those little abbreviations for, like, where you insert, those things, where it would be, like, your eye color, your hair color, your favorite color, like, maybe something about, like, your hometown, things like that. Like, everything would be left kind of blank, and you insert it with your own information, because the reader doesn't want to make the writer, I should say, doesn't want to make assumptions about the reader. And it allows you to kind of keep your immersion, so that, because that way, if the author got something wrong, it might knock you out of the fic a little bit, because it's like, wait, that's not true about me. Basically. Kind of like reading a fanfiction otome, almost. Although even with otome, they don't always refer to a you. I would say, for me, this is... below OCs. I feel like these kind of go hand in hand. I do kind of like them. I used to be kind of meh towards them, but I actually like them quite a bit now, because I like the creativity involved. But the thing with reader inserts is they have a bad rap, because a lot of the people who write them, there's the infamous, I have been sold to One Direction reader insert. I don't know if, you guys are familiar with that fanfiction. Are you familiar with the copy pasta? I might be, this might be a deep cut. I don't know if anybody knows this. But there is I think this one was written, I don't know if this was written in second person. This might have been one that was written in first, but there's a fanfic that somebody wrote, of their mom, like, entering a debt, and in order to pay off the debt, she sells her daughter, parentheses, you, to One Direction as a slave. And, the implication is that you are a fun slave. Huh? You're insecure. It's very silly. But, a lot of people kind of think that this has a bad rap. That's, like, a very infamous Wattpad fanfiction. But, like, reader inserts and, like, author inserts kind of, like, fall under that category for a lot of people. So a lot of times stories will get dismissed by nature of them being reader inserts. Because people think the writing is, like, that level of bad. But no, it's... sometimes it can be written really, really well. It's just a matter of, finding the ones that are well written. Gonna enable the 1D vanity. Ouch, my mom was in debt, so she sold me a short direction. God damn it! This fucking dresser is gonna haunt me. Correct, thank you. Stop! I can't do this, man. Game over, man. This is so rough. It's so stupid. Anyway. Dresser has a name? No, it's your name. The name is YN. We know we'll be drawing in the next Cardic phone stream. Oh god, it's just gonna be a bunch of dressers. Let me look up what this one means really quickly. You know it's you. Stop! Stop, 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 stop. Okay, I figured it out. So recursive fanfiction is a fanfic that is written about somebody else's fanfic. Basically, if a fanfiction gets popular enough and people, like, enjoy the portrayal of that fanfiction enough, people can start writing fanfiction about your fanfiction. Fanficception, yeah, basically fanficception. I think this is cute. I like the idea of someone being inspired enough by someone else's fanfic to write a fanfic about it. It's just, there's something about that that's kind of silly, but kind of cute. So I think I would put this in, I won't knock it, but I probably would be less likely to read it as like a bottom tier option. Like all the fan art about that one Brazilian Hatsune Miku? I suppose so, yeah. Kind of like that, where like everyone's inspired by a fan portrayal of something and it makes them want to draw fan art of it or something. Is there an example of like a popular fanfic for this? Let me check the place where I got the definition. So there's actually a really famous crossover fanfiction between My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, and Fallout. Like the game series Fallout. Which I suppose would be the best example. Like, that fanfiction was so popular, it spanned, like, multiple, like, series and chapters, and, like, I think it got compiled into ebooks. And then, yeah, Fallout Equestria. Indeed. So it was so popular, like, if you looked it up, there'd be, like, over 20,000, deviations for it on DeviantArt. But that was a, recursive, that's, like, an example of, like, a fan work that spawned recursive fanfiction, because people were writing fanfiction and drawing fan art within that particular universe. Did you have an MLP era? I did not. I did watch the show a little bit casually, but I didn't really get obsessed with it like everybody else did at the time. I didn't really have, like, a phase with it. I can't believe this. What is the last one and very enjoyable? Ha 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 ha. I feel like if you're laughing, you know what it is. I'm not going to humor you because you are mocking the fact that it's there. I will not explain it because you are not asking genuinely. You just want to hear me say the word out loud. That water is sounding pretty empty. A little bit. There's like a little bit of water left, but it's mostly ice. I will probably have to refill it soonish. We'll see if I can get through this before then. I shipped Applejack with Astro Boy. Huh? What? Astro Boy is in, like, Astro Boy? Astro Boy? What? I mean, I love that for you. I'm sure it makes sense in your head. Can we pretend that airplanes in the night sky are like Astro Boy? I can really use a wish right now. That'd be so funny. Heldorf, thank you for being a member for 3 months. What trope is the best? Right now it is fake dating or fake marriage. You missed my rant about it, but it goes hard. Dare I say, it slaps. That is correct, and the only true answer. Oh, Hanaki, are we in the Twinkie Pie Mordecai trip for the stream? I think you mean Twilight Sparkle. Who the hell is Twinkie Pie? Anyways. Secret relationship. So this is pretty straightforward. It focuses on a story where two characters are in a relationship, but they have to hide it for whatever reason, and it's all about, like, them keeping the secret as best as they can. I won't knock it till I try it. I would say that I would probably read a secret relationship sooner than I would read a bully romance. So it'd probably be up here. And I won't knock it. It has to be written really well. I like it, though. I like the grimace emoji for this one. Sex compulsion. You like the risk of them getting caught? Yeah, a little bit. It's part of, like, what I like about fake dating, too. So I think it's kind of, like... That's part of why I like it. But sex compulsion. Basically, like... They can't hold back the desire to do it. You know? Like, it's just, like, instinctual. I guess kind of similar to, like, what people like about ABO, where, like, the alpha and the omega are, like, compelled to like, do it with each other. On site, yeah, kinda. They need it. Maybe something also compels them to. Like, it could also be with, like, this is a separate trope that I'm surprised that it's not on here, but I guess this isn't necessarily about these kinds of tropes. But there's, like, sex pollen, where, like, there's some sort of pollen or, like, a secretion from, like, an alien plant or something that makes people, like, extra turned on. So that could kind of be an example of sex compulsion, or, like, some sort of, like, if we're going back to the thing I like, it could also be some sort of, like, mind manipulation. Anything that just, like, forces a person to become, like, compelled to do it. An agent that enhances the need. Yeah, exactly. Anyways. Probably above Pair the Spares. Pollen is far too specific. No, it's literally a term! It's literally a term, okay? The term is literally called sex pollen. I'm not lying! That's what it's called! It's just like the generic term for any sort of, like, plant, secretion that, like, serves as an aphrodisiac, you know? Anything that causes an aphrodisiac. Didn't know there was a term. There is! And that's what it is! I've seen that in even mainstream stories before. See? See? I'm not lying. I don't just say these things. I'm not making it up. This is an educational stream. This is an educational stream. Anyway, shared dreams. So, usually there's, like, a trope of, like, the two characters, whenever they sleep or have the ability to, like, or if they have the ability to enter dreams, they, like, share dreams together. Not necessarily for naughty things, but it could be just for, like, any other purpose of, like, being in each other's dreams. I'm somewhat of a connoisseur. This is literally my brand. I have to own it. But yeah, sharing dreams, it's okay as a plot point, but I don't go out of my way to, like, read fic about it. So I would say probably above epistolary in indifference. Okay. Honestly, I'm surprised I don't have a lot of squigs. I always thought I had more, but I guess I've become open to more things as time has gone on. That's cool. Love that for me. Sharing a bed. It's a bit too cliche for me. But, you know, this is the, oh no, we have to have a hotel room together for miscellaneous reasons, but there's only one bed in the room. I guess we have to sleep together in the same bed. And then it, like, is meant to, like, increase tension between the characters because there's some sort of, like, unrequited or, like, presumed unrequited feelings or mutual pining that leads to them being kind of embarrassed and shy about being close to each other. But there's the intimacy of, like, showering and then getting into bed and, like, breathing in each other's scents or whatever. People are, like, really into this. I don't mind it, I guess, but I'm kind of indifferent. I feel like for me, it's also, like, it's probably above shared dreams, maybe. Maybe above missing scenes, even. I think it's, like, here. I don't go out of my way to find fics about it. There are people who do, actually. Remember in the beginning when I was talking about how some fiction these days goes out of its way to advertise itself by being like, there's a scene where the characters take a bath together, or, like, there's a scene where there's a blanket moment. One of the biggest ones is, there's a scene where the characters have to share a bed together and it's so good. But, like, just because the characters are forced to share a bed doesn't mean I believe the romantic chemistry. So I'd prefer it if there was actually just, like, chemistry on top of having to share the bed. And not just, like, the two characters get shoved into sharing a bed and then I have to try and figure out their chemistry. Okay. Sharing clothes. Now this? You have not lived until you have seen Kare's shirt. Okay? Listen to me. Listen to my words. Small cute girl wearing oversized t-shirt that she wears from boyfriend. Do you get it? Yeah, see? Kaya Nishikino gets it. Ow! S tier. S tier. I would say just a little bit below mutual pining, but it's up there. It's good. We love that. We buy in. It's especially good when there's, like, a height difference between the couples. I like this in my BL and my GL as well. There's something possessive, kind of, with the idea of, like, somebody wearing the other person's clothing. It's just, like, you know, you're wearing something that belongs to that person, so it makes you feel like you belong to that person. And also, it smells like them. And, like, also... because it's bigger, sometimes there's, like, situations where it, like, falls off the shoulder and it exposes the collarbone, or it's just kind of loose, and, like, if it's, like, a small girl, for example, the big t-shirt will sometimes be worn like a dress, so it, like, covers her whole body, but also she only has to wear that, and it's like a nightgown. I eventually just reach a point where I go monkey mode. It's good. Peak. We love to see it. Kare's shirt, my beloved. Okay. Bringing out the gremlin. I did just kind of go gremlin. I was thinking about all of the scenarios where I loved seeing Kare's shirt, and I just kind of went a little bit goofy, but, like, it's good. That's why it's up in top tier. We are yearning. Okay, sick fic. So one of the characters will be sick. Either they have, like, a cold, maybe they have a fever, some sort of, like, illness that makes them bedridden, usually. And then the other character that's, like, their love interest or like, current partner has to take care of them and, like, nurse them back to health. So, like, make them soup, put, like, the cold compress on their head to help the fever go down, make sure that they have their medicine, that kind of thing. I would say indifferent. I might be more likely to read a sick fic than I would be a future fic, I think. But, like, they're cute. Sometimes if I think the overall premise is cute, I will read a sick fic, but I'm not always going for a sick fic. The sickly love confession, that's so true. When a character has a fever and they're, like, they don't want to be left alone, so they like reach out and, like, grab onto the back of the person's shirt and they're like, you can't leave me alone, please, I need you here. That part's good. That part's pretty peak, I must say. Actually, me saying that, I think I'm gonna bump it up to I won't knock it. Probably below Friends with Benefits, though. So, like, here. I've decided to boost it up because I said that. Hear me out, boyfriend using girlfriend's really tight shirt. Kano shirt? I mean, that could still be cute. I don't mind it. Okay. Slow burn. So a slow burn is... the story is just going to take a really long time for there to be any sort of, like, romantic movement. The characters are going to stay in the same spot for a very long time because the feelings are taking a long time to develop, like the slow burn of a candle. The wax is slowly dripping down, and maybe eventually you'll reach the point of, like, a payoff, but it's the point of a slow burn is that you enjoy the build. You enjoy the tension. You are not as, like, you don't push for, like, instant gratification. You're okay with watching it slowly play out, even if it can be frustrating at times. Like, one character might realize it before the other, and it might be like one character realizes 10 chapters in, and the other character won't realize until like 30 chapters in. And then they will spend the rest of that time mutual pining until it's finally resolved by like chapter 74 or something. This is only okay if the end is in sight. If it doesn't have that, it is the worst thing ever. I get what you mean. For me, I like slow burn, but also when I read fanfiction, I sometimes really just need the, like, gratification. It depends on my mood when I'm reading fanfic, though. I don't want to wait too long before I get to the meat of the matter, I guess. But I do think I like it well enough that it's probably either very enjoyable or yearn for this content, because I do really like slow burn, actually. I think I'm going to put it in very enjoyable, though. Perhaps above hurt comfort. Yeah. You enjoy the slow burn unless you don't know it's a slow burn. That's true. Most fanfiction are pretty good about tagging that it's going to be a slow burn, though. Because they want to focus a lot on their plot before they get to the romance. On fanfiction can be hard to do a slow burn because of the lack of updates. Yeah, then it becomes like a denial fic. Okay. Time loop. I guess this goes back to the 5 instances thing. 5 times fix. Because you guys thought that would work for a time loop. But time loops. I'm sure you guys know what a time loop is, but basically the same day or series of days is like repeating nonstop. And like nothing's really being done to break the cycle until one of the characters realizes that they're in a time loop and that they have to try and break the cycle. And like this can either be done with like something positive or something negative. So that's that basically. Like 51st Dates and Groundhog Day, yeah, something like that. Not really my thing. But I'd be more likely to read a time loop story than I would something with, I think I want to change where miscommunication is. I think maybe this is above sporking. I think I would do this. Yeah. Time loops, I don't mind them, but like, as someone who like studied writing, I know that the whole point of like a story that involves a time loop is that you establish the norm and then you have to break the cycle. Like there's something about this particular version of this loop that is important, and that is what encourages the breaking of the cycle. So I guess because I can see it coming, I just find it a little bit boring. If you can find a way to make a time loop really interesting, then maybe I will enjoy it. But as it stands, because I'm used to that writing convention, because I had to study it, I'm just kind of like, eh. It's fine. It's alright. Trapped together. So this is like, similar to Blanket Fic, where the characters get trapped like on a mountain or like in a cave or something like that. And then like they can't get out for a period of time and it's forcing them to kind of be stuck in that same space. Potentially to either like bond if they didn't get along before, or to just like, you know, because they get along so well, they're just sticking together because they're scared. Trapped together is usually there with the slow burn. Not always. I think trapped together is usually for like enemies to lovers, actually. Or like just situations where the characters are not like together yet. It's usually just like there to like kind of force that tension to build. Indifferent. Here, I think. It's fine. But, like, it's a subplot for me. And I'd want it to be resolved relatively quickly. I actually have a story about something like this for Cupipara tomorrow. Ironically, I'm finding a lot of tropes from Cupipara routes in these listings. So that's fun. Okay. True crossover. So this, I mean, I'm sure you guys know what a crossover is, because you've probably heard of, like, crossover events and things like that. But it's taking one series or IP and crossing it over with, like, a random IP. Not necessarily one that makes sense within, like, the universe or, like, something like that, but it's, like, something that you might not expect. I guess going back to, like, My Little Pony and Fallout, like, that one was, like, very, very popular because it was, a bit unique, but it was also done really, really well. I watched Infinity War. Stop. I really like crossovers, actually. I think it's interesting to see how people can combine two different universes into, like, one shared universe. I would say I won't knock it till I try it, because it depends on how it's written. I think it would be below humor. Astro Point. I have to know what your logic is for that ship. I'm so curious how that happened. Unhappy ending. So, as the antithesis of happy ending, the guarantee is that these characters will have a sad ending no matter what happens in the story. Everything's going to end in tragedy. So it's like the awareness that, like, while they are happy, you know that it's going to end in tragedy. It's borderline a squick for me. But I think I will just put it at not really my thing. Like, way down here. Astro Boy needed a ride that elaborates nothing, actually. That elaborates nothing, and maybe that's for the best. Unrequited love. So unrequited love would go alongside Hanaki. It's the idea that, like, the whole point of the story is reflecting on a love that is not going to be requited. So it's usually, like, one character's perspective about how they love this other character so much, but that they're never going to be able to get together with them. And so it's usually just kind of like a musing on what could have been if they had actually managed to, like, move forward and, like, confess to that person. Not really my thing, but I would be more likely to read an unrequited love story if there was a guarantee that they would find love in another person. Like, it's okay if the story starts out with unrequited love and, like, focuses on that heartache, but I would want them to be able to move on and find happiness, personally. But that's not always what happens with unrequited love. Usually people just focus on the sadness and nothing else. I think I would read an unrequited love story sooner than I would read a... honestly, I think I'd read unrequited love before all of these. So maybe it goes up on the top. There you go. Alright, just a few more! This took 3 hours! Here I was like, oh, I don't know if this will take up enough time, so I got a list that has 200 of them. I played myself. Like a little fiddle. Doody-doody-doo-dee-doo-doo. I'm silly. Well, I guess I will save the 200 plus prompt list for, another stream. Maybe? Now we need to have a fanfic writing collab? Oh god. There's always next time. What do you mean next time? I wasn't planning for there to be a next time. This is a dono reward. Maybe. Maybe, cause, like, the thing is, with the 200 plus one, that would probably be, like, a 12-hour stream. Cause I yap so dang much. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, let's just get through these last 3. UST. Unresolved sexual tension. The focus is on the fact that these characters have sexual tension between them, and it keeps mounting, and there's, like, it's just waiting for the bubble to burst, basically. The characters are, like, flirting heavily. There's a lot of, like, implications, maybe a lot of, like, flirtatious looks. I really like UST. I would say it's like here. No, here. I like it. I like the building of the tension. I like a building of tension until the dam bursts. I like it. Yeah. Wedding fic. Pretty self-explanatory, focuses on the characters getting married, specifically like on the act of their wedding. Maybe there's something involving like the actual wedding planning process. Maybe there's some drama around like when the wedding's gonna happen. Miscellaneous circumstances, silly shenanigans, just anything and everything that has to do with like characters wanting to get married and be married. I think it's cute, but it has to be written well. So it's another example of like I won't knock it. Probably I would read a wedding fic before a bully romance. Honestly, blanket fic should be further down. Yeah. And then woobification. So woobification or woobifying a character is taking a character who is usually very intense. Usually villains, I think, deal with this treatment a lot. But it's like characters who are very like aggressive, very angry, very serious, very dark and brooding, and kind of like turning them into like a soft, like sad boy. That's why it uses the pleading emoji. It's like, what if you took, what's a good example of a character? What if you took Sasuke, I guess? I'm sorry all my examples are Naruto. It just seems like you guys understand Naruto, so I'm using Naruto examples. What if you took Sasuke and instead of, like, letting him be, like, cold and edgy and, like, mean to everybody around him, he, like, softened up and he was like, I'm sorry, I'm like this. It's just because I lost my family, so I don't really have anybody to, like, teach me to love. I, like, lost my ability to love after I got betrayed by my brother. And he just, like, became baby. Something like that. But it's basically, like, if you take a character and you just kind of ignore how, like, seriously, like, messed up to an extent some of these characters can be, and you just make them soft. It's just making, like, edgy characters soft. Or, like, if you made Shadow kind of, like, soft and, like, uwu. Doesn't that fall into out of character? Yes, but it's specifically taking a character who is, like, known for being, like, intense and edgy and, like, mean, and making them less mean, usually for the sake of romance. I find that usually a character will be woobified for the sake of becoming a better, like, love interest, I guess. Like, kind of to, make it so that they are kinder to the person that the author wants to ship them with. And to, like, avoid that kind of, that, like, usual tension, and, like, to make them not be mean. Because there would be circumstances they want to put the characters in that canon character would initially be like, oh, gross, no, I would never. But because the author wants it for them, they kind of, like, woobify the character and make it so that they're like, oh, yes, dear, whatever you want. And I hate it. Honestly, we finally found something that beats out Amnesia for things that I hate. Amnesia literally belongs near the top of my squicks, but, like, woobification is worse. I hate that. If I want to be shipped with a guy who is an asshole, let him stay an asshole until I change him. Let me fix him. Don't fix him for me. Let me fix him. That's my job. Or maybe I don't even have to fix him. Maybe I like that he's a bit of a jackass. Huh? What about that? So woobification sucks. Like, I don't like stories that are out of character either. But, like, I feel like specifically a woobification of a character who is normally, like, not like that, I hate it. You don't want to fix him, you want to make him worse. It depends on the character, but there are some characters that I would love to make worse. This is true. Let me be the one to change his personality otherwise. Don't let somebody else do it for me, the hell. Anyway, so that's the list. Here's another look. Here you go. I feel like these kind of make sense for me, but I feel like I threw everyone for surprise over the fact that I love fake dating. I love fake dating. Fake dating is literally peak performance, and it can work with childhood friends or people that are not childhood friends. Like people who get along really well as coworkers having to fake date. So good. I love fake dating. And then here's my, here's the icks. And this one doesn't count because I couldn't find the definition. I don't know what this was supposed to be, so... Loves Nisekoi. I've never watched Nisekoi. But I guess with how much you keep saying it, I guess I would like it if I tried it. Good to know, I guess? Crazy. Okay. Do you guys want to peek at how crazy the other list was? Do you guys want to peek at it? Quick peek? Okay. So this is how crazy the other list was. This is the, yeah. I told you it was big! I was like, oh, this list is kind of short. I should get a longer one just in case. And so I was like, oh, this one has 200? Nice, that's perfect. Why did you want to do it? Are you okay? I'm fine. That's the real punishment stream? Oh, this is not a punishment for me. I love talking about fanfic tropes. But, like, I wanted to make sure, because I had a feeling this one wasn't going to, like, cover all of them. How long did it take you to write all those? Oh, I didn't write it. Somebody else made it. Somebody else made that list. Not me. Not me. Not I. About the 12-hour stream idea, can we do it asking for a friend? Maybe. Probably not anytime soon. We'd probably have to have, like, a crazy incentive in order for that to happen. So probably not anytime soon, no. If you could add one trope to this list, which one would it be and where would you put it? If I could add a trope. Corruption. And I would put corruption in... I won't knock it till I try it. Probably, and if I was going to choose like where it would be in this category, I would probably put corruption above... above Dubcon. So like above here. Yeah. That's what I would have added. But I didn't! Anyways. So that's the stream. Good stream, everybody. Good stream. Good stream. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. This sure was a stream of all time. So, tomorrow I will be doing a presentation on Cupid Parasite, just the first game. I still have not beaten, Sweet and Spicy Darling, so I won't be including too much from, the sequel game. I'll mostly be talking about the first game. But, it will be a fun time. It'll have, like, some spoilers because, Cupid Parasite is a more lighthearted game than Amnesia, so it's less plot-heavy. So there's gonna be spoilers, like, right away, instead of a more, like, bare-bones overlook. So, be warned that there will be spoilers, but, I think it'll still be worth it to listen to. And then I haven't decided still if I'm going to Gorilla tomorrow or Saturday, but there's going to be a members stream either Friday or Saturday. Maybe a little bit before my usual stream time. to discuss like a quick thing with members. Because I feel like if I do it after, most of you guys will be going to bed. So I don't want to like do that. I don't want to do it after, then you guys are like all asleep. So maybe it'll be before. Maybe. And it'll just be like a quick discussion of a thing. Because I want to discuss it as a stream. I was thinking about making it a post, but I felt like a post might be a little bit too wordy. And I'd rather just like bounce off ideas with you guys live than make a post about it. So that is something to keep in mind. Again, I haven't decided what day. It'll either be tomorrow or it will be Saturday. I have not decided. But we'll be having it before break at the very least. Because Saturday is just a normal, like, chilling chat stream with everybody. Not just members, with everybody. Before I leave for my break, because I'll be gone for a whole week. And I'll miss you guys terribly. It'll be so hard, but there's no use crying yet. I'm not gone yet. But yeah, thank you guys for listening to me ramble about fanfiction. This is a very, very, very fun stream. I had fun. I need to figure out more ways I can talk about, like, fanfic and stuff. In stream. I will figure it out. What do you mean 70 days? I'm only gonna be gone a week. Please. But yeah, I still be. Is it a good thing? The member stream? It's not a bad thing. I can at least say that much. It's just like a quick, like, what's it called? Oh my god, what's the term? Housekeeping. It's housekeeping stuff. Celebrating 1 year Annie with myself. No! No, I'm not leaving you alone, Kaya, I promise. I'm not leaving! Stop talking like I'm already gone! Please. But yeah, no, it's just some housekeeping. Don't worry about it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for choosing to spend time with me. I hope that you have a good rest of your time zone. And until I see you again, Yunotsu!